Okay, good evening, everyone. We are on the record. Today is Wednesday, the 20th day of May, 2020. This is a regular meeting of the Jersey City Municipal Council. An effort to adhere to social distancing protocols and best practices imposed by the city and state authorities. The City of Jersey City has canceled all public meetings and closed non-essential services as of March 16th, 2020 until further notice. As a result, this council meeting will be held virtually as a video conference with public access. We had a scheduled 6 p.m. start. The clock on my computer is showing 6:02 p.m. May we have a roll call for the commencement of this meeting? Councilperson Ridley.
Here.
Councilperson Prinzary.
Here.
Councilperson Baggiano.
Here.
Councilperson Saleh.
Here.
Councilperson Solomon.
Here.
Councilperson Robinson.
Here.
Councilperson Lavarro.
Here.
Councilperson Rivera.
Here.
And Council President Waterman.
Here.
Thank you so much. We have 9 members in attendance at 6:02 p.m. Can we kindly rise for a moment of silence, please? Thank you very much. Kindly remain standing as we salute the flag. I
Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the
United States of America
and to the
and
republic
the republic for which it stands, one nation,
God.
under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. On behalf of Council President Waterman, in accordance with the New Jersey Public Laws of 1975, Chapter 231, the Open Public Meetings Act, also known as the Sunshine Law, adequate notice of this meeting has been provided by the posting on the bulletin board on the first floor of City Hall, the amended annual notice, which is the schedule of meetings and caucuses of the Municipal Council for the calendar year 2020, and filed in the office of the City Clerk on Wednesday, March 25th, 2020. In addition, at its time of its preparation, the agenda of this meeting was similarly disseminated on Friday, May 15th at 10:30 a.m. to the Municipal Council, Mayor, Business Administrator, Corporation Council, and the local newspapers, and posted on the city's website, so I can certify as to our total compliance with the Sunshine Law. Council members, before we move on to the agenda, we just have one order of business to take care of. I need a motion to add items 1026 and 1027, which were considered late items at the caucus, which are the resolutions 20-362 and 2363.
Motion.
Motion made by Councilperson Rivera, seconded by Councilperson,
You want to put them up on the screen so we see what they are?
Councilperson Prince Airy. Yep, we'll do that. So that's Resolution 20-362 and 20-363. We have a motion to add both items by Councilperson Rivera, seconded by Councilperson Prince Airy. On the motion to add items 10.26 and 10.27, Councilperson Ridley.
Aye.
Councilperson Prince Airy.
Aye.
Councilperson Baggiano.
Yep, yes, and thank you, Joyce.
Councilperson Saleh.
Aye.
Councilperson Solomon.
Aye.
Councilperson Robinson.
Aye.
Councilperson Lavarro.
Aye.
Councilperson Rivera.
Aye.
And Council President Waterman.
Aye.
Motion to add items 10.26 and 10.27 carries 9-0. Okay. On to our first reading ordinances. We have one first reading ordinance. Item 3.1, City Ordinance 20-039, an ordinance adopting amendments to the mixed-use B zone of the Morris Canal redevelopment plan. Council members, we're taking the introduction vote on item 3.1, City Ordinance 20-039. Councilperson Ridley.
Aye.
Councilperson Prince Airy.
Aye.
Councilperson Baggiano.
Aye.
Councilperson Saleh.
Aye.
Councilperson Solomon.
Aye.
Councilperson Robinson.
Aye.
Councilperson Lavarro. Councilperson Lavarro, you're muted. Still muted. There you go.
Aye for introduction.
Thank you. Councilperson Rivera
Aye.
and Council President Waterman.
Aye.
Item 3.1, City Ordinance 20-039 is introduced, 9-0. Okay, before we move on, I just wanted to alert the public to please use the live event Q&A if you wish to speak during the second reading ordinance, which we're about to go into. The live QA is on your left side of your right side of your screen. If you would just provide your name and your phone number, and we will call you in order to speak on this second reading ordinance. So I'm going to read it into the record, and then I'm also going to ask for anyone who is wishing to be heard. Okay, if you would allow me to read this into the record. Item 4.1, City Ordinance 20-038. An ordinance amending Chapter 175, food handling establishments to include restrictions on fees charged to restaurants and food establishments by third-party internet-based food delivery services applications during declared states of emergency. This is a public hearing on this ordinance. Is there any member of the public wishing to be heard? And we were going to take a nice pause here to give members of the public a chance to notify me and my staff to see if they're looking to speak on this ordinance. I appreciate your patience, council members and members of the public. Okay, still gonna pause.
I'm on the phone. When I'm finished, I'm gonna hand it to you. It's almost time to speak.
So,
Motion.
oh, wait. I'm sorry, Councilman Rivera. Give me one more minute. There is a little bit of a delay that members of the public are receiving, so.
You ready?
And are there any members of the public wishing to be heard on the second reading ordinance 20-038? Okay. No one has contacted me through the live event. So we have a motion made by Councilperson Rivera to close the public hearing on City Ordinance 20-038. May I have a second?
Second.
Ooh, I don't know who said second first. I'm gonna have to give that to Councilperson Prinzary. On the motion to close the public hearing on City Ordinance 20-038, Councilperson Ridley.
Aye.
Councilperson Prinzary.
Aye.
Councilperson Baggiano.
Aye.
Councilperson Saleh.
Aye.
Councilperson Solomon.
Aye.
Councilperson Robinson.
Aye.
Councilperson Lavaro.
Aye.
Councilperson Rivera.
Aye.
And Council President Waterman.
Aye.
Motion carries 9-0 to close the public hearing on City Ordinance 20-038.
Council President and Clerk, can I make a motion to table 4.1? You know, we've talked about, taking our time to get it right, and I, with some of my colleagues, a little bit more information, and we can, we have the executive order in place, so we can either bring it back at the next meeting if we don't want changes, or we can introduce the changes at that meeting.
Sure.
Okay, so we have a motion to table City Ordinance 20-038 after the close of the public hearing by Councilperson Solomon. May I have a second?
Second.
Second by Councilperson Rivera. On the motion to table City Ordinance 20-038 after the close of the public hearing, Councilperson Ridley.
Aye.
Councilperson Prinzary.
Aye.
Councilperson Baggiano.
Yes.
Councilperson Saleh.
Aye.
Councilperson Solomon,
Aye.
Councilperson Robinson,
Clerk, I gotta ask you a question, because I can't and I'm not voting on this at all. Should I abstain from this as well, or is it okay to just vote to table it? I mean, vote to table it.
my advice to you and suggestion is that you stay consistent.
Okay, abstain. Thank you.
I would agree with that, Mr. Clerk.
Appreciate it. Thank you, Mr. Baker.
Not a problem. And thank you, Peter. Councilperson Navarro,
I vote aye.
Councilperson Rivera,
Aye.
and Council President
Aye.
E. Waterman.
Aye, Sean.
I was trying to delay a little bit. I'm sorry.
That's okay. That's okay.
Okay, so motion to table City Ordinance 20-038 after the close of the public hearing carries 8-0-1 with Councilperson Robinson abstaining. Okay, so do we have,
Sean.
I believe the council president would like to say something?
Yeah, I want to untable ordinance. Let me see, with the 5G, I don't have an exact
Yeah.
number right now.
Okay. So the motion I believe you would like to make is a motion to remove item 11.18 from the agenda, City Ordinance 20-034 from the tabled agenda.
Correct. Yes, I would.
Okay, so that's the motion made by Councilperson Waterman. May I have a second?
Second.
Second by Councilperson Rivera. On a motion to remove item 11.18, City Ordinance 20-034 from the tabled agenda, Councilperson Ridley.
Aye.
Councilperson Franzeri.
Aye.
Councilperson Baggiano.
No.
Councilperson Saleh.
Aye.
Councilperson Solomon.
No.
Councilperson Robinson.
Aye.
Councilperson Lavaro.
Before I cast my vote, a question to Nick. Nick, are you out there?
Rolando, Nick is going to give a presentation once we take it off the table. I don't know if he'll answer some of your questions at that time.
I just want to know if he had an answer for the question on usage fees, or if he's going to discuss that.
Yes, he will.
Okay, so I'm going to vote no to remove it from the table agenda.
Okay. Councilperson Rivera.
Aye.
And Council President Waterman.
Aye.
Okay. On the motion to remove item 11.18, City Ordinance 20-034 from the table agenda, motion carries 6-3 with council members Baggiano, Solomon, and Lavaro voting no. So did I hear that Nick is going to give a little bit of a presentation before we move to vote for final consideration?
Correct.
Nick Strouser?
I'm here, Mr. Clerk. Can everyone hear me okay?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. All right. At Council President's request, I'm just going to go over some of the briefly some of the legal issues that we've been discussing, that some of you have brought up publicly, to be clear as to the legal ramifications of this ordinance. The first thing I want to address is the issue of fees, and what Councilman Lavaro had just brought up. The important thing to keep in mind is consistent with the FCC rules is that every carrier in the marketplace needs to be treated the same. This council has approved 2 prior 5G contracts for other vendors, and the fee was charged was $750 per pole. The one thing to also keep in mind is this particular agreement, I believe the other agreements are the same, is $750 per pole. However, in the event the review is more onerous than the average review, you can actually ask the carrier to provide an additional fee related to the extra effort of city employees, related to the engineering or legal review for that pole. So it's $750, but it's not a cap, and you can request more based upon the review. The important thing to also keep in mind is under federal law, as well as under state law, any fee needs to be reasonable. This is particularly important in New Jersey. Under the New Jersey Constitution, the ability to raise revenue is exclusively with the state legislature. Going back to the payroll tax last year, the only way Jersey City was able to have a payroll tax was it was granted that authority by the state legislature. Now, you're always allowed to charge fees for services related to applications, reviews, and the like. And that's exactly the case here. However, that review fee needs to be directly related to the efforts of municipal employees for that task. In this particular case, it's $750 per pole. The way that amount was arrived at is it's $150 is our outside counsel fee for attorney review. So $150 with $750 is a 5-hour review. That most of these polls will take less than 5 hours for a combination of the law department as well as the engineering section to review. And again, if there needs to be an additional fee based upon a unique circumstance, that can be requested. But the important thing to keep in mind is fees are not a substitute for revenue. You cannot charge a higher fee with the expectation of getting revenue that we would not be otherwise entitled to. Now, in terms of user fees, if there's not a task that's being conducted by the municipal government that requires that fee, then it really is a revenue generation source, which would need to be sanctioned by the state legislature. The second thing I want to cover is the environmental aspect of 5G. As I mentioned, federal law and the Federal Telecommunications Act is very clear. The FCC has the ability to determine whether 5G technology is safe, which they have done. It is outside the purview of municipalities, counties, and states to determine on a case-by-case basis whether they believe that technology is safe. We may be frustrated by that, and that's understandable. And the resolution that you approved for a late ad tonight addresses the council's resolution to send to its congressmen and the New Jersey senators requesting changes in Congress to that act to allow municipal governments more authority. However, that is not how the law currently stands.
No. Why don't we hold off till we find out from a decision from?
Go ahead, Nick.
Okay.
Rich, let him finish.
Yeah, well, this is BS because go on the computer and look up all this
Rich,
stuff.
you could disagree, but let him finish. We have to learn to respect each other. Let him finish. We disagree. We hear it.
Yeah,
Go ahead, Nick.
Okay. One thing I would caution in terms of waiting to take any kind of action until Congress takes action is this law was enacted in 1996. It's unlikely that in the next 6 months to a year, there will be any action taken on this. So I would not, with the resolution you're sending to Congressman Sierras Payne and Senators Booker Menendez, I would not fail to take any action on this with the expectation that the congressional law, that the federal law will change. The third issue I want to talk about is co-location. One of the things that was brought up by Councilman Navarro on Monday. One of the things that the engineering section does when they review 5G installations for the prior 2 contracts you've already approved is can the technology be installed on already existing infrastructure or is a new pole required? The effort of the engineering section is we want to make sure that anything that can be put on existing infrastructure is to avoid cluttering rights of way. So that's already part of the review process. In addition, I remind you that Mr. Cicado, when he testified on behalf of the vendor, said their preference was to use existing infrastructure. In addition, as part of the contract that was entered into, Cross River, it says Cross River shall, subject to technical and space limitations, enable co-location of mobile telecommunications equipment on such utility poles by third parties. In other words, Cross River is willing to have other 5G technology companies utilize their poles in lieu of new poles. Next thing I want to talk about is the restrictions that the municipality is allowed to enact. And that's related to safety. When I say safety, it's not about the safety of the equipment itself for emissions or radiation. It's about where these pieces of equipment can be, whether they're too close to a fire hydrant, too close to a corner, too close to a bus stop. All that is part of the engineering review. And also aesthetics. It's a historic preservation zone. It has to be consistent with the decor of the zone. Also something that's already part of the engineering review. In addition, at the request of this council, an amendment to the ordinance was requiring a notice to any residents within 200 feet of 5G equipment to be installed to have notice of the exact location of the installation, the nature of the equipment to be installed, the type of equipment, and also the safety information about that. So the public is fully aware of exactly what's happening within 200 feet of their property. Okay. Lastly, as I mentioned on Monday, Cross River has filed a lawsuit in federal court regarding the tabling of this ordinance item. In the event that the council passes it tonight, that lawsuit would be rendered moot. But ultimately, that is the decision of the municipal council. And I don't want to go too deep into the discussion of the lawsuit because it would be inappropriate for me to discuss litigation strategy in an open session. But it is important for the council to know that in the event this passes, that lawsuit would be moot. So, Council President, I believe I've covered everything.
Yeah.
If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them. But that's all the prepared presentation that I have.
Okay. So what I would ask the council, as you take your votes, you can make your comments.
No, we should be able to make comments now. And
3 minutes, Rolando.
We should be
3
able to make questions
Thank you.
now
3 minutes.
before we actually cast the votes.
Rolando, you can talk for 3 minutes. I said, go ahead, 3 minutes.
Okay. So Nick, on the issue of co-location, would Cross River be required if another carrier should come into the market and want to use their poles? Would they be required, not that they'd be willing, but would they be required to co-locate on their poles?
The requirement is a difficult thing because it depends upon space and the technology restrictions. The way the contract is written, Cross River shall, subject to technical and space limitations, enable co-location of mobile telecommunications equipment on such utility poles by third parties. So,
and who makes the determination as to who? Let me just cut to the chase. Who makes the determination as to whether they will co-locate or not? Who says they shall or shall not?
That'd be a conversation between the vendor and engineering.
So could we require them as a result of this contract to require them to co-locate or not?
No, you
and
could
say that the decision would rest with engineering.
Well, engineering is certainly part of the equation. However, if you make the
let me just get to the chase. Let me cut to the chase. Can the city determine whether or not they co-locate or not? Like, so after assessing the feasibility, the engineering or physical requirements that are necessary to co-locate, because listen, as I said the other day, I spoke to background about somebody in the industry, and they're all going to say that they don't want to co-locate because they all want to keep their own pole. They want to maintain their own pole. And so what we're going to look at is we're going to see Verizon, AT&T, T-Mobile, Sprint, Castle Crown, Mobility, et cetera, everybody wanting to put up new poles so that they can and so that they can control their own physical networks around that stuff. And we're going to have a proliferation of pole, the idea of pole proliferation again. And so what I'm hearing is you can't, we are not through this agreement requiring co-location. And in fact, we're essentially leaving it in their hands, although you would suggest that it'll be a conversation between the two parties. But legally, we have no more authority than whether this agreement gives us no additional authority to actually require co-location if we think it's technologically feasible to do that. Even though if they dispute and they don't want it to happen, they can choose not to do that. That's my first thing. The second thing is on the fees.
Okay.
So on the usage fees, now you're saying that usage fees do not apply here?
Well, what the usage fee? What is it for? What is the fee for?
So let me ask a question. So
Okay,
we are providing them access to our right of way. Are they, how are they charging their poles? How are they getting electricity and providing access? Do we have a department of the director of engineering here?
No, we don't.
So I shared this documentation and the public doesn't have it, and I'm happy to share my screen with this on this. And I'm going to do that right now.
What'd you tell?
We can't read it.
Wait,
Share
let's, guys,
No.
listen,
Go
this is
ahead.
what we need to do is,
Right.
let's go down, whoever's
Yes.
gonna vote, and then, then we can make our comments as we vote. We're not gonna go through
important.
this, jumping
No.
in front of everybody. We're not
Yeah.
doing this, Yolanda. Let's just go A, B, the way
This
we
is-
normally do, and then if you have your concerns, then we can take it from
Yeah,
there.
but other
We
council
would
people should know
normally
the
have a
changes.
conversation before we vote. We would normally have a conversation before we
Yeah.
vote.
Rolando, I gave you 3 minutes. We see what you're saying. It's highlighted in blue, correct?
Highlighted in blue, and it's there
Okay.
for the public as well. And
Okay.
I shared this with the entire council and corporation
Okay,
council as well. And it
Okay.
says about usage fees and the possibility of doing that. This is the first time I've learned of it, and no one's brought this to our attention. So as to say that we can't do it, and it suggests that if ancillary facilities or services such as access to illicit electricity, existing underground ducts and underground casements at each pole, the FCC fee guidelines do not apply, and the city can set the usage fees at any level it wishes. Cities should not be misled by carriers falsely claiming that the FCC's $270 annual usage fee includes anything other than the right to mount an antenna on a pole and put equipment nearby. This comes from an organization named Next Century Cities, which is working with cities throughout the country on this issue of small cell location. installation.
okay, Nick, your
I just
turn.
want-
His 3 minutes is up. Rick,
I just want to say something real quickly.
okay,
I
go
don't-
ahead.
I just want to say,
Can we
there
hear
is
from
no
the
time
legal
limit,
people?
and you
Can
do
we
not,
hear from-
Please,
council
try to
president,
keep
you don't
order here.
actually have the authority to set a time limit.
Well,
don't actually have the authority to
Rolando,
set a
you can't
time limit.
take all the time neither. You inconsiderate. You can't take all the time.
You cannot set.
You cannot
set a
take all the
limit on
time
us
neither.
as
So when
council
you
members.
run the
do not-
meeting, you run it
You
the
do
way
not
you
possess
want
that
it.
authority under the law.
Okay? You run it the
You
way
do not
you
possess
want
that
it.
authority under the law.
You cannot take all the
That was
time.
never the
Yes,
case
you
with any
was.
previous,
Rolando, you
any
take
previous
all the
period.
time. That's why Councilman Rivera said what he said. You take all the time. You're inconsiderate of us. Very inconsiderate. Yes, you are.
You are not
ahead.
allowing for public
Go ahead.
debate, and you're trying to stifle public debate
No,
on this
no, I'm
because,
not.
and
No, I'm
and
not,
everyone here is
Rolando.
trying to rush this vote through.
No, I'm not. I'm not
basically to
trying
cater
to. I'm trying to get
cater
everybody
to
heard.
corporate AT&T.
Rich, you want to say something? Go
I
ahead.
just want to say something.
That's what I'm saying.
compare-
Everybody wants to say something.
All anybody has to do is go on Gmail, look up all the great scientists that are saying that this can cause problems and danger to people. And any court in this country that would let us be sued and make us pay money to some corporation that is endangering the lives of our people and that judge or that person, or I don't care who it is crazy.
Okay. Go ahead, Clark.
Council members, can I
Go
just
ahead. Go
make
with
a
the vote.
comment? The one thing I'm going to ask of all the council members is we try not to speak over each other because we do have our court reporter. We are virtual, so let's not make it more difficult for our court reporter to transcribe this meeting. And I do appreciate and understand people, we have passions about certain items, but we need to take our time and not speak over one another because it's almost impossible for our court stenographer to transcribe this meeting. So with that
Okay.
being said, for final
Take a vote.
consideration and adoption of City Ordinance 20-034, Councilperson Ridley.
Okay, I have a few things to say about this ordinance. So when we started, and especially for the public, because I don't think that everybody has been following this just seemed to be an issue recently, but we've been discussing this since April. And when it was first placed on the agenda and we discussed it for a first reading back in April. You know, I started the convo about the safety of 5G and the concerns that some people reached out to me with from my area in Ward A, not knowing that we were then going to get something on our agenda for 5G at the time, just discussing it because it was a hot topic lately and a lot of rumors floating around, and just so happened the next council agenda, it was on there. So, you know, and at that time I voted to not introduce it. Rich co-signed that and Rolando also jumped in. We voted not to introduce it. And all the council people that voted to introduce it said that they would vote for introduction. And if we weren't comfortable, we would then go back and not vote for it, which we did do that. We tabled it to get more information. At that time, also the ordinance that was provided, the contract that was provided gave addresses in latitude and longitude. And I had my aides convert that to addresses, and I sent all those addresses to the council. I provided the law department with some ordinances from other areas in New Jersey. I even reached out to state officials regarding some rules that they had in the legislature. So we went through all that process, and I just want people to know, if this is the first meeting that you're attending, these are some of the things that we've been doing since last month to look into this. The fees that Councilman Lavaro mentioned, and you know, Nick, maybe you can answer this after we're done, or you can answer now, but with that, I would think that that might be something that we would add to the ordinance in general for the same ordinance that I asked to have add a notice to residents within a certain amount of feet. That might be something, fees, or we might want to look at the adjustment of fees for any additions to these polls. So I think that at this point now, there are still concerns, and I think that the council needs to continue to look into this further. I believe that we have a resolution today which is encouraging our Congress people and our senators, our officials at the federal level to assist with that, because we're going to need their assistance. There are certain things that we don't have the authority to do as a council. And, you know, I want to rally with the community to do that. And at this point, the council or the city is being sued for this. So I think it's in the best interest to move forward because of us being sued and it being a pandemic. I don't know if we should spend this money right now to fight this in court if we know we're going to lose, or if the attorneys are saying this is a battle that we're going to lose. But I think that we should still continue to do the research and still continue to fight and reach out to our federal representatives and help the community on that front. So with that, I vote aye.
Thank you. Councilperson Prinzary. You're muted. There you go.
Thanks. So in the conversation and research that we've all been doing around this, and knowing that it's become a bigger issue now that we're in the middle of a pandemic, I think that there are a couple things that are happening, and I think it's best for us to really galvanize our resources and this energy and make a push with our state and federal representatives to work with us to make changes to the 1996 law. I think that the fact that we've made changes in amendments to the ordinance to request the notification, there is still the pending engineers review, which has not happened yet, and we can have that conversation with our engineering department as to what they think are appropriate locations and co-locations for this and future 5G installation. And I know that with this pending lawsuit, you know, it's maybe not the best allocation of the city's time and resources to have that fight, but to take it to a higher level now and focus on that, because that's where we really need to go with this. I will continue to advocate for that with the residents, and I'm going to ask for the support of them on this. I think when it comes to adjustment in the fees, that's certainly something we can look at, but if we don't know for sure that it can be done now, we can make those amendments later. And so knowing all of that, I will vote aye.
Thank you. Councilperson Bajiano.
As I said, there are many scientists that disagree totally with what the SEC or whatever they say. And I'll tell you something, anybody who gets sick, I hope they not only sue the city, they sue the judge or any court that ever says that we have to go along with this. I think it's a disgrace, and I say no.
Thank you. Councilperson Saleh.
So I've listened to both sides and I've done my own research on this, and I'm going to keep it 100 because that's the only way, you know, us born and raised people in Jersey City can keep it. We don't have a leg to stand on here legally, and I don't think that it's in our best interest for us to continue to delay this under the guise of, you know, fees or research or, you know, we have a resolution on the table today that will address these concerns. But again, this law was made in 1996, the 1996 Telecommunications Act. So this law has been on the books for a while, and I've heard these similar concerns when it comes to cellular devices back in 2000, and now they're ubiquitous. I heard it when 3G came out. I heard it when 4G came out, and now we have 5G that's coming out, and we have the same concerns. And yes, we are supposed to be suspicious a little bit about new technologies, but if you look at other countries that have implemented this, South Korea has 5G all over the place. They've been at 5G. They have the fastest internet anywhere on the planet. Europe has 5G. There are other countries that have 5G. We wouldn't be the first. So I really think that this council also approved twice the 5G in our neighborhood. So it's already here. I mean, I wasn't on the council before then, but we really, the court isn't stupid. They're going to look at this and they're going to say, oh, like you guys approved it before, and now you're having this open dialogue in city council regarding this. So for that, I vote aye for this resolution.
Thank you. Councilperson Solomon.
Briefly, you know, I think we could use 3 more weeks to review and potentially amend. Even in the last 2 weeks, Councilman Navarro has found and addressed issues that I was unaware of in terms of some of our options, and frankly, that weren't presented to the council the first 2 times we voted on it. You know, my understanding is I don't share the same concerns as Councilman Bogiano on the health risks, but you know, just to be frank, we voted yes the last time, and we voted yes in part on assurances around the pole design that it would be appropriate for neighborhoods, and the pole came and it wasn't. And I understand that the administration has worked with this current provider to improve that, but there are no guarantees, right? We're not approving the design with this contract. We've simply been told that we'll get a chance to look at it in advance, and if we don't like it and they say tough luck, we don't have a clear mechanism by which we're going to be able to truly ensure that the poles are being placed properly and the designs are correct, as well as the point that Councilman Navarro made around proliferation, that while these guys may say now that they have to co-locate, it is the incentive, I am sure, of each company to build their own network that they can control and to be able to kind of elbow their neighbors out of the way. So I think I think my colleagues are correct to say we're not going to win the lawsuit in the long run. I don't agree with that, but could we spend 2 or 3 more weeks, maybe make a couple more revisions that would be tougher and better and protect the resident interests? I think that we potentially could have. So I'm going to vote no because I think a couple more weeks wouldn't have harmed us and potentially could have brought some benefits.
Thank you. Councilperson Robinson. Doesn't seem like I see Councilperson Robinson. He might have dropped out of the meeting. We'll come back to Councilperson Robinson. I'll go to Councilperson Navarro, and if I see...
Sure, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Oh, there you go.
I got kicked out. It just told me, it told me to put my password in again. It shut me off.
Okay. There you go. All right, back. So we're voting on for final consideration and adoption of City Ordinance 20-034.
Yes. Nick, I have a question. Rolando, and I was listening to Councilman Solomon. I got cut off. He raised some good points about the polls. Like, people are not going to want to share polls, so we're going to have all the other companies coming to us asking us to install here. Like, what can we do for that?
Well, Councilman, in this agreement, it actually calls for Cross River shall, subject to technical and space limitations, enable co-location of mobile telecommunications equipment on such utility poles by third parties. In other words, they're willing to say, we will host other 5G companies on our poles, subject to space limitations. And that's for engineering to review.
Was that in the other ones that we voted on? Because I don't remember. We voted twice already to approve 2 other ones. Was that already in the language? Was that in other agreements?
Off the top of my head, I'm not certain. I don't have the other agreements in front of me.
I think, what Councilman Navarro said makes so much sense that, I think we're going to have a lot of people wanting to put up 5Gs in the future. When I voted last time, I said, I wish this didn't come back in front of us, because if the FCC is telling us that it's mandated for us to do it, I don't even think it's fair to us as council people to vote on these things. Like, if they're already going to set limitations on the cash, on the money, on the amount of money we can charge, if they're going to set limitations on all of that, why is it that we need to vote? And I know, the council president put it in that we should, ask our Congress and ask our Senate to be a part of it. I mean, to do some research and help us out with that situation. But I mean, I really don't think it's fair. And as our council, I mean, you're telling us that we have a lawsuit, which is, I'm going to believe you. I didn't, see any paperwork to say that there is a lawsuit. So I'm going to take that as your word. But it's really unfair to us as a council to put us in this situation where the FCC says they can do whatever they want to do, and then the only thing we can ask is that they alert people within 200 feet, and all that's going to do is open up the can of worms even bigger, because now people are going to get a letter in the mail and they're going to say, oh, it's 200 feet. I got this letter saying that they're going to put it here, and as their representative, they're going to call me and they're going to call Councilman Navarro and Waterman, and they're going to say, I don't want it. So all we essentially is doing is opening up something worse to make it worse on us by even telling them that we want 200 feet or we want to send a letter at 200 feet. And I really, I'm seeing you talking, Nick.
I didn't want to cut you off, Councilman. I wasn't sure if you were finished.
No, I mean, it's not fair to us to make us even put us in this position to say we have to vote on something that we have no leverage on. Councilman Saleh said we don't have a leg to stand on. We voted twice already. Councilman Solomon said the polls that were put in historic districts weren't fit or suitable for the historic district. So they're basically doing exactly what they want to do, but they're telling us to vote for it. Like, what's the reason?
The reason you're voting for it is because ultimately the rights of way belong to the city. And the FCC and the Federal Telecommunications Act do allow some restrictions, as I described, for aesthetics. Now, you may not be happy with the particular poles that they've chosen that they are conforming with the historic district. And certainly that's something you have a conversation with engineering about to see if that can be modified. But the one thing to keep in mind is the purpose of the law, the federal law, and the purpose of what the FCC is trying to do is to get this technology in the hands of customers and the citizens of the United States. That's what the purpose is. So in achieving that purpose, they have set significant roadblocks regarding the discretion of municipalities and counties. Now, while they have limited your discretion, it is nonetheless your decision because it is your right of way. But the consequence of utilizing that discretion in a negative way in this particular case or others is that the next forum then would be federal court. So I appreciate your frustration as reflected in the resolution that's on the agenda for tonight. However, going back to the purpose of the law is to get the technology into the hands of American citizens. That's the purpose. And the tangent to that purpose is to eliminate roadblocks that municipalities or counties or states could put in the way. So I appreciate your frustration, but regrettably, that is the state of the law.
Councilperson Robinson, you're muted.
Oh, I'm sorry. BA. Mr. Platt.
Yep.
Do we have other contracts already, other vendors already checking to see if they can add more 5G poles here?
I'm not aware of any additional vendors other than the ones that we've already approved at this point.
So what's the steps after after this, right? The next company is going to come in and say, because I think they feel the frustration of the city council. So the next company is probably going to come right after this, looking to hurry up and get it in before anything, comes from the federal level. I mean, I'm sure the federal government already knows about this. I'm sure Booker and Menendez and, Series and Payne, I think they all understand and they know about this already. And us asking with this resolution is not saying much, right? Because they already know. They already understand what's going on. And I think, the world is growing. We do, have to keep up and keep the keep up, and the technology is probably needed, right? We're on computers now, and so I just was wondering if anyone else was like in the line to come after us right after this, because for me, right, I don't feel comfortable voting on this, and I tell you why, because it's like it's a mute vote. If we vote no, they're gonna sue us and get it done anyway, or maybe they won't get it done, but we have to fight that battle. And if we vote yes, then we just open it up for the next people to come right after this and say, you did it 3 times now, so you have to do it on a 4th time for us, and a 5th time, and a 6th time, because the government knows, the federal government knows about this already. So that resolution that we're going to vote on, and is like the resolution that I'm asking the more time for the census. It's a moot point. They know that they need to do this, and for us to even say it is kind of like, I'm sorry, Council President, I know you got my 3 minutes on here. I just a little frustrating because why are we voting? Like, it's stupid. They're going to do it anyway. And it's like it's frustrating, and I don't want the city to be in any trouble for this, and I get it, Councilman Vagiano, it's frustrating. I would solemnly really believe the health risk, because one of my favorite rappers said a long time ago, we were all going to be brain dead from using Ericsson cell phones. And that was over 20 years ago that he said that we, the Ericssons that don't even exist anymore, we were all going to be brain dead. I think I truly believe that we're here. I mean, I think I think it's good for the country and the nation to keep up, to remain, a superpower. But I truly don't like the way this is going down, because it's like forcing our hand to do something we don't really want to do. Wow. So with that being said, I'm going to vote, and it's a frustrated vote, but I'm going to vote yes.
Huh? And last month, there could be a precedent sentence. California Supreme Court, would you not think?
Councilperson Lavaro.
Okay, before I proceed with my vote, to to Nick, just a question. I need some clarity on something. It was suggested here that if other fees, such as usage fees or other types of fees, or even increasing fees, were to be determined later on, given that this person has an agreement that sets the fees at $750 per poll and does not include usage fees or any other fees for that matter, could, if we were to pass an ordinance that would include additional fees, would that fee apply to them as a result, given that they have an existing agreement in place?
Council, they have an existing agreement in place. That goes back
It should be, if it should be approved.
Okay. We're talking about the amendment, correct? This is an agreement that was in place. This is an amendment as it relates to wireless technology.
If this ordinance and amendment to the agreement should be approved today, and then we were to subsequently pass an ordinance that would impose additional fees, usage fees, for example, would it apply to this or any of the other vendors who've been approved previously?
It would not, because
would not. I just want to clarify, just for the record, because it was suggested that we could amend it after the fact, and it could be suggested that we could amend it and be able to impose the fees. I want to clarify that for the viewing public out there, that in fact that's not accurate. I knew that. I wanted you to put it on the record there, that it's not accurate to be able to say that fees could be retroactively imposed when a organization that has an agreement with the city already has a agreed upon contract with the city. We cannot then impose additional requirements upon them after the fact, generally speaking. That being said, I want to go over several of the points that were raised. It was raised by one of my colleagues that this is a law that goes back to 1996, and that the laws are very clear on this and so forth. Well, excuse me. But if looking on the internet, and again, I've been researching this as of late, but if you go back to, yes, the Telecommunications Act was approved in 1996, but the FCC orders that right now govern the installation of these small cell towers goes back to 2018. It's recent guidance from the FCC or instructions, and in fact, it sought to limit the authority of local and state governments. These are appointees from the most recent federal administration, from the Trump administration, who have decided that they're going to do everything they can to make sure that telecommunications companies have unfettered access to being able to install these small cell towers and to get their 5G. I want to see 5G. I want to see but what they've done is they've basically taken the authority that was traditionally within local government and state authorities to be able to govern some of these matters. They've taken a lot of that out of their hands, but not everything out of our hands, which is why this has to come to the council for approval ultimately. And throughout the nation, and that document I shared, Next Century Cities, which I shared with the entire council today, with regard to the usage fees, which I highlighted earlier in this meeting, that same organization has been working with cities throughout the nation in addressing the issues that are being raised, and cities, including Sonoma, California, among others, have passed ordinances themselves that impose many of these same requirements. And again, I just touched the surface of the research. It was pointed out that this has been approved twice, and in both instances, I was very engaged initially for those, and had concerns back then about the pole proliferation. I didn't even know the term pole proliferation. I just said, we're going to have all of these poles dotting our landscape here in Jersey City. And I don't think that's a good idea. Like we need to be able, how do we control that? I even suggested at the time, for the record, I want to put this back on the record. I suggested at the time that perhaps the city should consider installing our own poles and our own infrastructure and then renting out the poles so that all of these carriers have to rent the pole access from us, and we can control the number of poles out there as this gets proliferated throughout the city. I think we talked about the. I just want to say also on the previous two approvals that predated even this current cycle, 2018 on, because I remember Councilperson Osborne was also involved with the idea of discussing the aesthetics and issues that were raised back then as to how this was going to impact our communities and our historic districts and downtown and so forth around that, but through the entire city. The idea of co-location, for the record, I want to put it on there as well. I shared this information with the entire council as well as corporation council as well, that engineering will do their assessment after the fact, right? After we approve the agreement, and we will lose our leverage in that discussion around co-location completely. So they're going to do their assessments at that point and determine whether or not there's co-location. And I said on the record in an email, and I'm saying it here today as well, that the council should ensure that there's co-location happening before we actually approve, because we lose our leverage and our authority to do that. And I can't believe that people are allowing themselves to take that out of our hands to be able to do that. I want to address the health risks. It's not my primary concern, although I understand where others have concerns around that. But it has been established in prior precedents that health risks are not a viable argument for addressing these issues with regard to 5G small cell tower installations and so forth. And so as the companies line up, as they continue to line up here to install here in Jersey City, I can assure you that they're going to be doing that. And I know from, again, talking to professionals in the industry that Jersey City is a hot market for this. Everybody wants to be in Jersey City as well. We're one of the hottest markets, and they know that we're continuing to grow here in Jersey City, pre-COVID at least. And so they want to make sure that they're in the market. And now as Councilman Robinson pointed out, knowing that there's additional interest in this issue, and I can tell you that it was already out there that there was interest in this issue after they learned that the word was out when we tabled this ordinance to begin with. And so this industry experts around there were already taking note of it and beginning to figure out how to strategize to make sure that they can be inside of Jersey City. The last thing I want to say, this threat and this idea that of the lawsuit and how that would hurt us, I go back to that exact same document, which I didn't have an opportunity to review all of this because I've only been looking into this for less than 36 hours probably, and spent a good number of hours looking into this. But on page 7 of that document, and I would like to share my screen so it's there for the public as well. I'm highlighting it in blue for everyone to see. And I'm going to take off the blue now, and I'm going to read it for the record. And these are, again, this was a guide to provide education and information to municipalities around this from this organization, Next Century Cities. And these are attorneys who wrote this as well. And it says, what is the risk if a city does not have an ordinance in place prior to the January 13 deadline? And it says the only risk we are aware of for a city that has no process in place to consider applications for placement or small cell wireless facilities is the risk that it will be sued in state or federal court by a carrier, arguing that the failure constitutes a city action that effectively prohibits it from providing wireless service. In the short term, say 180 days after January 13th, there is very little risk that a carrier will bring such a lawsuit. There's little benefit to a carrier in doing so. The only relief a carrier could get in such a case would be an order requiring the city to enact an ordinance within a certain period of time. A court could not order the placement of specific antennas or create its own process for a city to follow. If a city is taking observable public steps to develop an ordinance, which is what we are approving here today, not a resolution, a lawsuit is unlikely, and it is even more unlikely that a judge would rule against the city. In the longer term, say after mid-2019, the risk of a lawsuit will increase and it becomes less defensible for a city not to have an approval process in place, or at least publicly in development. That is why we recommend that cities publicly begin developing a process for small cell facility regulation now. Doing so will allow adequate time for consideration of all the issues and the development of a policy that reflects residents' concerns, while at the same time providing for placement of infrastructure for the next generation of wireless services. So we should be focusing on developing a policy, and we are preempting ourselves by approving this ordinance, and in fact, potentially losing, if these usage fees should be allowable, we are potentially squandering, and that those usage fees, just for the record, are annual usage fees and could potentially be annual usage fees per pole, right? So we're talking hundreds of poles, maybe thousands of poles that could be installed throughout the city at a cost of $200 to $300 or maybe more. I don't know exactly how this stuff works. And so we could be putting a lot of money on the table and leaving it at the table for us. For all of those reasons, I think this rush to action is imprudent on the behalf of by the council, and I'm vociferously and strongly voting no for the approval of this ordinance.
Thank you. Councilperson Rivera.
I vote aye.
And Council President Waterman.
Aye.
City Ordinance 20-0.
Sean, can you hold up a second? I want to read you something from the California Supreme Court that I just got. Can you hear me?
Yep.
All right. Last month, in what could be a precedent-setting decision, the California Supreme Court ruled unanimously that the aesthetic argument alone can be enough to justify the rejection of new 5G infrastructure. So we should be going to court and let the courts tell us what, So if the California Supreme Court did that, I doubt our Supreme Court would go any differently.
Okay. Thank you, Councilman. To recap, City Ordinance 20-034 is adopted 6-3, with Council members Baggiano, Solomon, and Navarro voting no. Okay. We're moving on to our public request for a hearing. Our first speaker is Yvonne Balser. I just want to make sure that we have Yvonne here in the meeting, and if we do.
I'm here.
Okay, Yvonne, I just wanted to, so just wanted to make sure you were able to unmute yourself and everyone can hear you. Just give me a test.
Do you hear me now?
Yes, perfect. Okay, Yvonne, your time is going to start in 3, 2, 1, go.
Oh, hi, it's Yvonne Balser. I'm talking about the issue of the budget. The 2020 budget and the friendly budget for this year is not on the city's website. The last budget that was posted is 2019. The last friendly budget posted was 2018. Continuing on, the last annual audit posted is the year 2017. The last annual debt statement posted is 2018. The last annual financial statement posted is 2018. The last vacant properties posted is 2018. In addition, I have asked the administration on more than one time the number of tax appeals that the city has to pay out. And I know that we have one again for 10.7, a resolution. But I don't know why, being that the budget is not up there. I mean, the citizens are allowed to see this. So is there any reason why this is not there? On top of that, there is no listing on how much money on the city's website on how much money is posted from the payroll tax, which should be listed there, since that's a fee. So is there any reason why none of these items are listed? And especially the current budget should be there totally. Excuse me?
I don't know who's speaking at this point, but if it is a public speaker, they shouldn't be speaking. It should only be Yvonne Balser.
It's well, I don't know who was speaking. I'm just speaking now, this very point. The only thing is that I would like to see, before the next council meeting, the 2020 budget posted. I want to see the friendly budget posted for this year as well as last year. And I want to see all the previous budgets, all the previous annual statements posted.
It should only be Yvonne Balser.
It's, well, I don't know who was speaking. I'm just speaking now, this very point. The only thing is that I would like to see, before the next council meeting, the 2020 budget posted. I want to see the friendly budget posted for this year as well as last year. And I want to see all the previous budget, all the previous annual posted. Only give you that also. It's, well, I don't know who was speaking. I'm just speaking now, this very point. The only thing is that I would like to see, before the next council meeting, the 2020 budget posted. I want to see.
Okay, I'm not sure what happened there.
I was, okay, why the budgets and various statements are not on the city's website? So my time is now up.
Yes.
And my husband's the second one, so I'll pass it to him.
Okay, thank you. Charles, are you there?
Charles Balser.
Charles, okay, your time is going to start in 3, 2, 1, go.
Yes, I'm speaking tonight regarding the Exchange Place budget. The SID has a budget that they're talking about approximately, what I'm looking at here is about $10 million. On behalf of the people who spoke for the Gatson Monument, which is at Exchange Place, we are concerned at this point because the lack of transparency regarding the budget as proposed. We'd like to see a line item, more detail about the plan, and what if in any way, shape, or form it's going to impact upon the Gatson Monument, yes or no. There are many people, well over 1,000, 1,500 people who signed petitions a year and a half ago, presented them to the City Council, and at that point in time, the City Council, we had the petitions, and the City Council supported us, and so we're on alert, and we want to know what is going to happen with regard to the Exchange Place plan, to their budget, and we'd like some transparency for it. And there are other people we are talking with now who are also concerned, and they will obviously be in touch with the City Council and other city agencies to ensure that the Gatson Monument is not in any way disturbed. Thank you.
Okay. Our next speaker, Alice, is not on the line right now, so we're going to skip over Alice and go right to Jean Daly. Jean, are you there?
Hello,
Jean?
Oh. What happened?
Jean, are you there?
Hold on.
Jean Daly?
Hello?
Is this Jean Daly?
I'm sorry, I just am no longer muted. Is there any way you can take this? Sean, can you hear me?
I can hear you. Are you ready to?
Okay, is there any way? No, not almost, but I was wondering, can you take off this, at least from my screen, I see it has all this ordinance in front of me. Is it able to get the people back on the screen? Hello?
It's actually showing a split screen, if that's what you're referring to.
No, what I'm seeing is just the public request for hearing, and it says ordinance of the City of Jersey City. Is there any way to get rid of that, or how do I do that?
Sean, if she's on the mic, we should start counting if she's on.
Right.
Please. I'm just trying to get the visual correct.
So the visual, what are you looking to see, Jean, before you start speaking?
I'd rather see the council. All I see is this ordinance and an agenda in front of me.
So this is what we show when we're having the public speaking portion, so we can show the list of speakers in the order that they called and the order that they're listed in. So I'm gonna start your time. Your time is gonna start in 3, 2, 1, go.
Firstly, I would like to state that this is ridiculous because typically when I speak to the council, I want to see the council, and right now everyone is completely blocked. From what I see, there's a public request for hearing on one side. There's an ordinance of the city of Jersey City, and therefore I feel like I'm speaking to a piece of paper, and I'm rightfully offended. Additionally, I don't see the clock ticking, but I'm sure it is. I have to say that I agree with former Council President Lavara. This is a waste, and about the 5G stuff, specifically because we have undertaken how many ridiculous and, quite frankly, asinine lawsuits that we've had to pay out, like the former reval that was stopped, and we had to cough out over $3 million just for because of our mayor's whim. So subsequently, I would like to, I'm getting some overdub, but anyway, so I'm offended by anyone saying that we can't have a lawsuit or be subject to one. And I also agree with what Mr. Boggiano had stated regarding the Supreme Court in California. Additionally, I am stating that the Exchange Place Alliance budget cannot be proffered as a resolution tonight. I state that because the proper order and technical order is that the Exchange Place Alliance itself has to have its annual open public meeting, which is therefore discussed in the open public, approved, and then submitted to the council. That quote-unquote open public meeting, I was blocked from attending that meeting. Christina Piorkowski was also blocked from attending that meeting. The minutes of that meeting, which I think was in February, have not been posted yet. So how is anybody supposed to know what the heck is going on beforehand? I think it's an outrage, and also it is illegal. It is procedurally flawed. It cannot be proffered this way. Additionally, I want to speak quickly to this new ordinance, apparently, for the Exchange Place. I'm profoundly offended, and I apologize to Mr. Solomon for the tone I took in my email, but this plaza is for all of Jersey City, for every single individual in Jersey City. It does not need to be disturbed in any way. We had our festivals there, our celebrations. It isn't until the Exchange Place Alliance formed that all these events got kicked out, which is very odd because the cultural, one of their goals of this alliance was to promote cultural fairs. I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
Your time is up.
Okay. Oh, okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Jean. Okay. We're trying to get Alice back on the line, or actually on the line. We were having trouble with Sharon Rampump. They didn't answer the phone. So we're going to go to the next speaker, which is Christina Porco. I don't want to mispronounce your last name, but Christina, are you on the line?
I'm here.
Okay. Your time is going to start in 3, 2, 1, go.
Ladies and gentlemen, members of the Jersey City Council, I am most concerned that you are going to vote tonight on a budget that has not been documented in any way. I am referring to the Exchange Place SID budget, where an expenditure of $5.15 million dedicated to Exchange Place, designated for the Exchange Place, is going to be used in an undescribed fashion. I can confirm that I was kept out of one meeting. I had stood in the antechamber to the conference room where the meeting was held. I can also tell you that a member of the Kościuszko Foundation, a staffer of the Kościuszko Foundation who was present at the February meeting, does not recall any budget items being discussed or any presentation on the specifics of Exchange Place being discussed. Any budget, any modification to Exchange Place requires public discussion and commentary. Since that has not occurred, and since we do not know how the issue of public meetings, be it festivals or be it commemorations, will be handled at the memorial, I must ask that you not approve this budget item at this time until such a time as an actual open meeting is held, i.e., off the premises of Mock Cali, where the community can come in, and not during business hours when people are at work, but in evening hours when they can attend, whether it's virtual or otherwise. As someone else said, I hope we don't have a repeat of what happened a couple of years ago, but I'm afraid that might have to happen. Marek Skulimowski, president of the Kościuszko Foundation, said to please tell you this is not a telephone pole standing in a forest or at a roadside. This is a significant memorial and meaningful to the Polish community, and that Exchange Place is also significant to the Jersey City community, which has held its observances of various kinds there for the past years. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I just want to make an announcement before I move on to the next speaker. If Alice is watching, please send us a message in the Q&A live to let us know. If there's an alternate number where we can call you, we'll be glad to do so. Sharoon, we would do the same thing with you as well. If you can please let us know that you are watching, or if you do not wish to speak, please let us know you don't wish to speak, so then we can move on, and which we're going to do with the next speaker, which is Zoe Berg. Zoe, are you here? And if you are, you can press *6 to unmute your phone. I actually don't see any of the numbers that I've seen before. Just bear with me 1 second, council members and members of the public. Please bear with us. This is some technical difficulties with getting the person on the line. Is this Zoe? Hello?
Hello.
Hi, can you identify yourself for the record?
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm Mrs. Ramab. I'm just waiting.
Shamron?
Yes, this is Shamoon.
Shamoon. Okay, thank you so much, Shamoon. Your time is going to start in 3, 2, 1, go.
Good evening, council members. I'm among the many long-term residents of Jersey City.
Go ahead, keep going.
Hello?
Jersey City who, yes. I heard someone else speaking, that is why I stopped.
Stop the clock, please. Stop the clock. Okay. Who is speaking now?
Can you hear me? This is Zoe Berg.
Zoe, can you please mute your phone? Because what we did was we went back to the previous speaker. The speaker that's speaking now was listed before you, and we got her on the line. So we're going to allow her to speak,
Sure,
and then we'll go right to you.
Absolutely.
Okay?
Absolutely. So sorry. Just *6, right?
Don't be sorry. It's okay. This is all a learning process for all of us. So if you can just mute your speaker. We're going to go on to the Sharon, and then we'll go right to you.
Sounds great.
Okay, thank you, Zoe. Okay. Sharon?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay. We're going to restart your time in 3, 2, 1, go.
Good evening, council members. I am among many of the long-term residents of Jersey City with great concern regarding the proposal of the Board of Education budget, which can increase our property tax of more than $750 per year, or more than 23% in some cases. We have a rent freeze on rent increases in Jersey City, yet we have water bill, sewer, PSC&G. There is nothing given to landlords, but all these benefits given to renters. I was once a renter myself, and I do empathize. But where is the assistance for landlords? PSC&G, water and sewer, Comcast are some of the businesses with large profit margin that gained from the residents of Jersey City. What are they doing to offer this community something back? Landlords are not qualified for even the small federal loan that is given. I applied to Providence Savings Bank, and they told me within 2 days their application process had ended because they had so many applicants. Contacted 3 other banks, none of them are taking application. Where in Jersey City can we be facilitated? Is there a room for us in Jersey City that we can apply for these benefits to? Is the council member aware of anywhere? I am asking if the council members of Jersey City can apply to the federal government, I'm not sure, or the state for relief for landlords too. I am not sure where we can go to regarding benefits for us to bail us out of this. Maybe the city or the council members can give us that information. That's all at this point that I have to say. But with the Board of Education, I'm thinking that's a blank check given to them. I actually listened to one of the last meetings that the debate was hiring 400 something individuals. I'm not sure. I'm totally confused and frustrated with this process, and do hope that we do diligence with this budget. Thank you. Sorry. That's all I have to say. I'm sorry. I think my time has ended.
Sean, you muted.
You're muted.
I am so sorry. I muted myself. Okay, so if Zoe Berg is our next speaker. Zoe, you on the line? So if you're here, Zoe, you there?
Yes.
Okay. Your time is going to start in 3, 2, 1, go.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for allowing me the time to speak today. My name is Zoe Berg. I am the Project Director for Americans for Responsible Technology. We are a national science-based environmental health nonprofit organization in New York. We work with municipalities across the country to protect residents' interests when dealing with the telecom industry's deployment of wireless equipment in public rights-of-way. First, I'd just like to express that the Cross River lawsuit previously mentioned is a typical intimidation tactic employed by the telecom industry. I've seen it all across the country. It's a clear sign of bad faith, and honestly, the worst possible legal outcome is that the city must allow the vendor to proceed with its plans. Secondly, I want to applaud the City Council's
efforts to address concerns raised by residents regarding 5G implementation throughout the city and the serious science-based health risks associated with 5G small cell antennas. I have met with federal legislator staff for over 100 congressional members. The likelihood of changing a nearly 25-year-old law, the Telecom Act of 1996, which the proposed 5G resolution calls for, now that it's been passed, I know this is no longer quite relevant, but in my humble opinion, has virtually zero chance of being accomplished, especially under the current administration. However, there are much more effective and local measures that this city council can take to protect constituents, particularly in residential areas, from 5G small cell antennas. While you cannot limit telecoms from placing equipment that complies with FCC limits on health concerns alone, there are some things you can absolutely do, and some of these would include requiring telecom applicants to demonstrate a significant gap in personal wireless coverage at the desired installation site using dropped call data, implementing antenna installation setbacks from residences, schools, daycare facilities, and other sensitive areas due to historic preservation rules, aesthetics, and property devaluation risks, requiring randomized radio frequency radiation emissions testing of all wireless sites on an annual basis at the expense of the applicant, and instituting a compliance bond to ensure that the applicant is complying with all conditions of the city's ordinance and all relevant federal regulations. Last week, I sent a copy of our organization's carefully crafted sample small cell ordinance to each member of the City Council for your review, as well as a partial digest of independent peer-reviewed scientific research documenting various disease endpoints associated with exposure to radio frequency microwave radiation. I would be more than happy to discuss any of these issues with you all at a later date, and again, very much appreciate your time and consideration of this urgent matter. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Zoe.
Thank you.
If you would be so kind just to hang up so we can move on to the next speaker. And before I do that, I just thank you. I just wanted to, again, just ask Alice if she's watching, please communicate with us through the live event Q&A to let us know if you still wish to speak. And if there's an alternate number, perhaps we can call. We'll gladly do that. With that being said, I'm going to move on to the next speaker. And the next speaker I have listed is Joan Sosa. Joan, are you there? Joan, if you're there, you just need to press *6 to unmute yourself. Joan? Again, you would just need to press *6 if you're there. I see two numbers that are listed here. Joan, are you there? Okay, I'm going to move on. We'll try to get Joan back on the line. Our next speaker, which I believe is on the line, is Esther Whitner. Esther, are you there?
Unmuted.
Are you okay, Esther? Give me just a 1, 2, 3. Esther?
Can I start? Yeah, I'm here.
Just give me a test. Yeah, 1, 2, 3. Yeah, there you go. Okay, Esther, we're gonna move on with you, and your time is going to start in 3, 2, 1, go.
Good evening. The first thing that I'd like to discuss is the report of Director .8.2, Executive Order 2020-006. I was unable to find this online. I would like to see a copy of the executive order regarding the reopening of Jersey City due to COVID-19. I personally feel that it's still early to reopen the city. Jersey City and Hudson County are a hot spot, and I think it would be wise at this point to continue at least for another couple of weeks to remain closed.
so that we can ensure that the work that we've done these past couple of months with our stay-at-home will prove effective, because we must get the rate of infection below 1. That's the first thing that I'd like to say. The other thing that I'd like to bring up has to do with the resolution from the last council meeting. I know that there was some discussion online with Councilman Saleh, and he was communicating in his professional capacity. On the online agenda packet, the attachments and the support documents are not available. There's nothing there. So you can't see the requisition or the purchase order or a copy of the contract or any of the support documents having to do with pay to play. So, you know, with the disclosures. So if you can either put that up there and let me know when it's done, or if someone can send me a copy of that. I don't want to submit an Oprah. I know there's a lot going on over there. And with respect to the 5G vote, I do believe at the last meeting, one of the things that was discussed is that there was going to be more discussion with the public so that we could understand it better, we could have a better sense. So I was a little surprised to see that it was untabled this evening, and for the fact that there was a concern about a lawsuit. As someone brought up this week, the city has also taken the position to not abide by the federal laws having to do with sanctuary cities, which puts us in a position of being able to be sued. So you don't do that, but you do this, which makes no sense. So there's no consistency with the thought process of what we do as a city in terms of how we put ourselves in position. So if you could just let me know how I can get a copy of that executive order and the support documents to that resolution. Thank you.
Okay.
You know, we can hear you whispering.
Esther, are you still on the line?
I am.
Esther, so I can, if you send me an email, I can provide you with a copy of the executive order.
Okay.
And you were also looking for the supporting documents on what resolution?
It was the resolution last week, 2 weeks ago, resolution 20-318, the award contract to Kruger International for the purchase of furniture.
Okay. If you can just send me an email and we'll be able to help assist you with that.
Thank you. Have a good evening, Sean.
You too. Stay safe. Okay, on to our speakers list. We have Joan on the line, so I'm going to go back to Joan. The call dropped, so we got Joan back on the line. Joan, are you there? Joan, if you are in the meeting, you just have to hit *6 to unmute your phone.
Radio check.
Is it Joan or John?
John, can anybody hear me?
It's John Sosa?
John Sosa, correct.
John, okay. Well, on the list, it said Joan. Okay, John, your time.
I'm Hispanic, so it's pronounced Joan Sosa, so I get what you're saying. You're giving it the English pronunciation. It's all right.
I apologize. Well, I'm just on
it's
when
fine,
you
don't worry
signed up to speak, it came up Joe. All right, John. So I'm going to let your time start in 3, 2, 1, go.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, before all, I first like to give thanks, you feel me, to God, to the Most High for giving me the courage and providing me the platform and the opportunity to speak to you, ladies and gentlemen of the Jersey City Council. I would like to remind you, ladies and gentlemen, that you are all ministers of laws and justice, and you legislate, you feel me, on behalf of the constituency with which whom you have you sworn an oath, you feel me, under God or whatever creator or entity or whatever you worship in this reality, you have sworn an oath, you feel me, to represent the city and the people and yourself, you feel me. You have done your work, your due diligence to be in the position of authority that you find yourself in today. Thankfully, I've been given the opportunity to acquire this knowledge, is to communicate this message to you guys. And the reason I'm talking to you is because I am concerned about everything that's going on. Even though I am hopeful and I have faith that humanity will continue to wake up, just as I heard you guys talking on May 6th about the 5G and the concerns that it is providing. I want to relay that concern as well. 5G is more than 5G. It is the 5th generation of technology. And it is but a blanket for the spectrum of 30 gigahertz to 300 gigahertz of millimeter wave radiation that it will be pushing forth. All right. So this is why a lot of people are feeling the effects. You feel me? I saw a post of one of the gentlemen that is in Jersey City voicing his concerns about his granddaughter having headaches. These are the effects of these radiations. We don't understand them because we are not talked about it. And we are not informed as a public. We are energy. We are pure energy. If our heart stops on an operating table, we are hit with electricity to bring us back to life. We need to understand these things, and by understanding these things and by understanding the politics, we can provide solutions. I hope that you, ladies and gentlemen, hear this and become aware and become more moral and more ethical about the work that you do, and stop rushing through life, because we don't have to rush. At the end of the day, we're all going to die. And the goal of life is to live a life with purpose, so that we can bring it meaning, so that we can live something behind for the children, for our the generation, the fruits that we create. And we don't want to leave something that we don't want to be born into. Okay, so just reconsider the actions that you take. And like some people said, we have over 100 days to think about these things, and there are solutions. There are solutions. There are technologies like Orgon that kind of mitigate the negative ions produced by the 5G technology. And I'm gonna leave it at that. I don't know how much time I have left. I pray to God that I provided you guys with the necessary information and the encouragement, so that you can make more valuable and useful decisions for the community which you serve. I thank you, and
Bridget,
I
can you
thank
hear me?
God, and I have faith that you'll make the right choices. Thank you.
Thank you so much. If you wouldn't mind hanging up the phone, John, I really appreciate it.
All right, thank you, ladies. Have a great evening.
Take care. Thank you. Stay safe. So our next speaker is Chris Gatson. Again, before I ask Chris to start speaking, I just want to make an announcement again for Alice. If you're still watching and you still wish to be heard, please let us know through the live event Q&A. If there's an alternate number where we can call you, please let us know. I'd greatly appreciate it. If you do not wish to speak, please let us know that too in that Gov Q&A. I mean, in the live Q&A, excuse me. So with that being said, I'm going to go on to Chris. Chris, are you there?
Yes. Good evening, everyone.
Hey, Chris. All right. So your time is going to start in 3, 2, 1, go.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for everyone's due diligence and getting information to me so that I can try to relate it, to the public. I echo all the points made by Councilperson Lavaro, Bogiano, Solomon, and even Denise, and just all other concerns that people raised today. I know we're in a pandemic, so there has been minimal communication with the public on this issue. And I know you voted 2 times prior, but I just think that we are missing the process, and the process has not been followed. So I think, and I'm thankful for the list that was provided by that Jermaine gave me. I took the liberty today to actually utilize it just to go through some of the addresses of some of the locations of where the towers are going to be presented. I got a video on Facebook basically explaining one resident explaining that she's not aware, right? So I go back to about 2 weeks ago when I said that we don't have to rush, but I just think that we have to do a better job as a city making people aware of this technology coming into their neighborhoods. I think that council has the responsibility in making sure that they take these steps and go through this process, because we don't have one. And I also think that there should be a map of this technology spread out throughout the city. And I also think that, working with engineering after the fact, that's not good practice, So property owners, I think they have a right to be notified by by mail and by phone. Just communicate with the public, because the owner of the home at 136 Old Bergen Road, she's not notified at all. So please, just engage the public. I got like 2,000 people watching the video, and they're all concerned about the process. They're all concerned about being notified, and the city has not done that, because we're catering to telecom, big business, big interest again. And so I'll just ask the question, like, who's more important, the residents of Jersey City, or this company eventually putting their cell towers up? Because throughout this process, no one has said that they're not going to install the poles, but there has to be a conversation on, coexisting with other poles and just informing the public. I'm a little bit disappointed, because as we move on, I don't see that the council has committed to making an effort in informing the public. So I pray that you please start the process, hammer out policy surrounding this, so that we can better engage the public. Thanks.
Thank you, Chris. If you wouldn't mind hanging up, I greatly appreciate it, so we'll move on to the next speaker. Thank you, buddy. Okay, so before we move on to the last speaker, which I believe is on hold, Bridget, I just wanted to make an announcement regarding Alice. Alice, we tried to call numerous times, and her answer machine picks up, and the mailbox is full, so we cannot leave a message. We've tried every effort to get you on the phone, and if you're listening or watching, we asked you to contact us via the live event Q&A, which we have not seen. So once Bridget is done, we're going to move on with the rest of the agenda, unless I hear something from you prior to Bridget finishing. Okay, so do we have Bridget on the line?
Yes, how are you?
Okay, Bridget. Okay, your time is going to start in 3, 2, 1, go.
Good evening. My name is Bridget Burrows, and I live at 77 Belmont Avenue here in Jersey City. I work as a concierge plan companies at Exchange Place in Secaucus. My coworkers and I want you to know we are doing everything we can to keep residents and staff safe from the coronavirus. We clean our areas, we accept all packages and food delivery so the residents can stay safe in their homes. But to keep residents safe, we have to put ourselves and our families at risk. We commute to work and interact with the delivery people, vendors, and residents coming in and out of the lobby every day. And we do it all for the wages that are low, $11.50 an hour, without enough paid sick leave or other benefits we need. I worked at the Exchange as a front desk concierge for about 1 year and 2 months. I'm a trustworthy employee. I work hard, and I also suffer from multiple chronic illnesses. In early May, I got sick from my COPD. The doctor said I should stay home for a week. After that, I still, wasn't feeling well, and I needed a few more days. I reached out to plan, and the management there stated I could stay home on a 14-day quarantine. But when I asked about my paid sick days, they said those were all used up, and the year just began. I care for myself and my 9-year-old granddaughter. I was able to borrow some money from a relative, but going without pay for 3 weeks puts a strain on my finances. I don't know what is it going to happen next month. When COVID started, I was told to buy my own disinfect spray, hand sanitizers, and masks, which I did because of my illnesses I have. In April, after some planned workers went on strike, they provided us with one paper mask and told us to wash it out. And I just kept bringing my own masks and supplies, and even brought in 3 boxes of gloves to hand out to other co-workers. Plan provided them, but we don't know how long, they're gonna supplies will last. So I keep my own. We really need more paid sick leave and a union contract with affordable health care. We should not have to choose between working sick or staying home with no pay. Thank you all, especially Councilman Robinson, Solomon, and Lavaro for co-starring this, and thank you all for standing with us in the fight for fairness. This is only a first step for plan workers in Jersey. We hope you will make sure plan and the developers who hire plan do not continue to grow in Jersey City without first committing to good jobs and affordable health care for building services workers like me. Thank you again.
Thank you, Bridget. If you would kindly hang up the phone. Thank you. Okay. This is the last call for Alice. Alice, if you're here, I don't see anyone, and I don't see anything in the comments section, our Q&A section, so I'm going to consider Alice did not speak. Okay, moving on with our agenda. Any questions or comments on petitions and communications, items 6.1 through 6.19?
Sean, what was Bridget's last name?
Bridget Burrows. B-U-R-R-O-W-S. She's listed at speaker number 5.11.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Any questions or comments on petitions communications, items 6.1 through 6.19?
Sean, is that about the appointment of the boards?
No.
Okay.
No. Item 7, office communications are none. This is the report of directors where we have the executive orders and the appointments to the boards and agencies. This is items 8.1 through 8.8. Councilperson Baggiano, you had a comment?
Yeah, I'd like to know, in the past, for the last 6 years, we always voted on and got resumes of everybody that was appointed to the boards. We don't even know basically what wards they're from and who they, and 5 of the 6, 5 of them, I don't even know who they are. I think this is wrong. We were supposed to get their resumes. We were supposed to know where they, what wards they belong to, and more about them. I mean, this is what problems we're having, especially with the planning board, where we have people that don't know anything about planning, and we're having problems with development in the city, and nobody cares about the neighborhoods and the communities. So I think this should be pulled. We should get their resumes, and we should be the ones that make the decision on who's appointed.
So, Councilman Baggiano, the boards and agencies that are listed here that are being either it's a reappointment. The reappointments, we can get you the resumes for all of the appointments that you have here. The reappointments are listed. The other ones that are new, like 8.4, we have the resume. If you need a copy of it, we can definitely provide it to you.
I'd like a copy.
Sure. So just to keep in mind, though, that the appointments to the Board of Adjustment, the Environmental Commission, and all but one member of the Planning Board is appointed by resolution, and that is our council president. So the rest of them don't require advice and consent of the City Council, and that's why you don't see any resolutions on the agenda for a vote. So when it's a direct appointment from the mayor, this is where it's listed, and this is where you would see it. And if you need a copy of the letter or the resume, all you need to do is just contact me, and I'll provide that to you.
Wait, Sean, you're saying that in the past, we always voted on these things. Somebody's being appointed to the planning board, and we didn't get a resume. We don't know who it is.
So the advising, when you're being appointed to the planning board, the only member of the planning board that is voted on by the city council is the council representative, right? So that would be the city council president, which you voted on. The other members of the planning board does not require advice and consent from the city council.
All right, Sean, I'll speak to you.
Okay.
Brian.
Sure.
Can I have a follow-up question, Council President?
Go ahead.
To the clerk or to the corporation council, can that be changed legally, or is that set by state statutes as to the appointing authority, and whether there's advice and consent from the council on all other appointments on the planning board or zoning board?
We had researched all of that in the past. I know we had circulated a memorandum. I don't know the answer to that off the top of my head, but we can look at that and I can circulate that.
That'd be great. Thank you.
Alrighty. So moving on to our claims and addendum number 1. On claims and addendum number 1, Councilperson Ridley.
Aye.
Councilperson Prinzahari.
Aye.
Councilperson Baggiano.
Aye.
Councilperson Saleh.
Aye.
Councilperson Solomon.
Aye.
Councilperson Robinson.
Aye.
Councilperson Lavarro.
This is number 1, right? 9.1,
This is claims and addendum number 1.
which is 9.1 on the agenda, correct?
That's correct.
Or is it inclusive of 9.2? Sorry.
So you have 9.1 is the claims list, and 9.2 is claims and addendum number 1.
And we're voting on which one? Both or not?
Both claims and as we always do.
Okay, I just wanted to clarify. So I have a question then regarding 9.2. There's a payment of $138,562.07 for River North Transit. Is that via?
Yeah, that's a regular, that's the regular payment for them, yeah.
Did you share with us the rideage during this?
No, we're still working on the public dashboard for that. We just trying to make sure we get it in the right format and we get all the right sanitized data on there. So it's coming shortly.
This payment, does anyone know if this is for what period, or quarter or month? Is this like a monthly payment or what is this?
I actually can't remember if it's a quarter or a month, but I can get back to you on that.
Okay, Sean, do you have that immediate information? Actually, that's okay. I don't want to waste more of the time of the council. So I'm going to abstain. I'm going to vote no on that particular item and vote yes on all the rest. And just for explanation's sake,
can you give me
I have concerns of what's that?
Can you give me the page number and it's
page number 3. It's page number 3 in claims 9.2, claims addendum number 1.
Page number 3.
So just for the record, I have concerns about the expenditures in relation to VIA during this pandemic and whether we should be, during this period of pandemic, paying for shared rides within this COVID environment.
So it's and Councilman, can you tell me the amount?
It's $138,562.
And that's to VIA?
It's River. The vendor's name is River North Transit LLC.
You're voting no on that and aye on all the rest?
Yes.
Thank you. Councilperson Rivera
Aye.
and Council President Waterman.
Aye.
Okay, claims and addendum number 1 is approved 9-0, with the exception of the one payment on page 3 of addendum number 1 in the amount of $138,562. That Councilperson Lavarro voted no. Okay, moving on to our resolutions. And I'm going to be taking a vote on items 10.1 through 10.11. Councilperson Ridley.
Aye.
Can we pull 10.8 on the Exchange Place resolution? We didn't get the information till 1:53 this afternoon, and there's a lot of questions about this. The property down there is publicly owned by the city, and they want to take part of it for the hotel. And it's been used for the Spanish, the Irish, the Caribbean, the Italian, and the African-American communities for events. And this has got to be stopped. It should be pulled, Sean. And as Gene Daly said, they didn't even have a public hearing.
I want to make a statement here. First of all, it seemed like when it comes to the Exchange Place Alliance SID, it's always a challenge. Every time.
Well, because
could I finish saying what I'm saying, Rich? You said what you wanted to say, okay?
No, I'm not finished, I'm not finished, Joyce.
Oh, okay, because I asked you, was you done? So go ahead and finish. Afterwards, I'll say what I have to say. Go ahead.
Well, no, I mean, they do what they want with this Catron statue. I mean, they're down there. They think that part of the city belongs to the people, all the people of Jersey City. Matt Calley, this SID have gone out of their way in the last couple of years, and they're wrong. They didn't, the public meetings, you heard somebody say before, they didn't even have a vote. They keep people out of their meetings, which is illegal. You cannot, and it should be in a public place where everybody can attend. And to allow them to exclude certain individuals or anybody from their meetings because they don't want them taking a picture of something is wrong. It's a public meeting. And I think our lawyers had ruled on that a while ago. So I think this should be pulled and it comes back and we need further clarification about this whole thing with Exchange Place.
Okay, first of all, I disagree with you. And the reason why I disagree with you, because I do sit on the board. Now, when that person was removed, it was concerning recording. Based on their regulations in the building, they couldn't have recording. So what I did, and I did speak to James Solomon to make sure that they know that they have a right to record. Okay, so that was settled. Number 2, the budget was submitted to the clerk office May 31st. Number 3, it's Culture Affairs who schedule the events down there. It's Culture Affairs. They cannot stop the events down there at all.
They did last year.
They did that. They did not do it. Culture Affairs was not scheduling people because I work with some events. They were not scheduling people. Now, I know you can even speak to Councilman Rivera, okay? The Hispanic community made a choice not to have their event there, all right? 4th, I would invite the council to come to one of the meetings. Come to one of their meetings and see. And not only that, 5th, we audit them. The clerk has a copy of their audit. We can see it. They go through the same process as every other SID. Every other SID. So I invite the council to come down there to the meeting and see. Come see for yourself. And what you don't like, you can voice your opinion.
Joyce, all I'm saying is stay out of Exchange Place in that area there and mind your business, let them mind their business. That is city property. It belongs to the people of Jersey City. The Hyatt Hotel should not get anything there as a roundabout or anything. That's our property to every resident of the city of Jersey City.
And it's not just for them, Rich. Everybody uses the Exchange Place.
You can't put grass.
It was posted.
You can't put grass there.
Can we, is it, I'm sorry. Is it possible?
I just sent a text. Cultural Affairs tells you to contact the Alliance. So, I mean, come on, we're playing games. What are they, friends?
No, Cultural Affairs shouldn't be telling you that. If Cultural Affairs is telling you that, then they're in error.
Can we get something in writing, I guess, from Cultural Affairs explaining exactly what the process is? Because I think one of the main concerns for everybody is it appears to be that events have been moved from that area, and that's a concern from for everyone in the city. And if it's Cultural Affairs or the SID, whoever's in charge of that, we need to get the process in writing. Maybe, Brian, you can have Cultural Affairs send us something or let us know why they've been asking people not to have events down there. But that seems to be the main concern. There are some other concerns.
Yeah,
but I think that's the biggest.
Apologies. Yeah, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I will say that the main reason why that events have been delayed down there is because Cultural Affairs was under the impression that there was construction coming soon. Doesn't seem like that's the case. I don't know the full story of the projects there, but that was the reason. Cultural Affairs schedules events months in advance just to make sure that everything is processed appropriately. So they didn't want to schedule something a year from now and suddenly have construction starting and it be a safety hazard.
All right, Brian, and the other part is they have no right taking part of that property for a turnaround for the Hyatt Hotel. That property remains the same. It should stay the way it is. You can't put grass there and have 1,000 people or 2,000 people when you have the Irish Festival there or the Caribbean Festival. I mean, enough's enough with this.
For my understanding of the design, there's an existing driveway there that is going to remain. It will. It's currently a driveway for a parking lot that is on the southeastern corner of that plaza, and that will remain.
Brian, let them stay the heck away from that area. We're going to have our festivals there, and I'll tell you something right now. A lot of the Polish people are really upset about the thought of them even touching that area down there.
It's a public area.
That's right.
It's a public area.
It belongs to the city of Jersey City.
Correct. It doesn't belong to one specific group neither. It's a public area. We
Joyce,
always
I'm here
emphasize
50
one
years.
group.
I'm here 50 years, and for 50 years, we've had our festivals and parties down there. And all of a sudden now they come along and they say, oh, you're not going to have them last year. And then you talked about the Hispanic one. They just didn't want to fight it. They went over to Ferris and were so disappointed. They don't ever want to go back to that area. Speak to the people.
Somebody said something?
I just think that this should be pulled and we need more information. I got this afternoon and she talked about all the safety of it. I was not cop down there for 17 years in the precinct.
Like I said,
we never had a problem.
The council need to go visit it. This is just like any other SID.
Let's pull it and let's
get together.
Let's get together.
I don't know why we give this SID this hard time. It's like any other SID.
Well, I remember we had meetings, Joyce, for the last few years, and every other Rachel shows up, Chris Bernardo shows up, the girl that was in charge of the McKinley Square shows up. But when they had their dodges coming up, nobody showed up. Come on.
No, they have meetings, Rich. They do. Just like Rachel has hers in the morning, they have theirs in the afternoon.
Yeah, and they kick people out. So,
no, not all the time, Rich. I'm there. That's why I disagree.
Yeah,
Go ahead, Sean. I disagree.
Okay, so
I think it should be pulled. I'd like to take a vote on it.
You're making a motion to remove?
Yeah, remove it for this month till we get more information and everything on the Exchange Place grounds.
So I have a motion to withdraw item 10.8, resolution 20-344 by Councilperson Baggiano. Can I have a second?
while you're waiting for a second, Clerk, just Councilman Bojano, if I could just speak for a second. I had a call with, briefly with the city clerk and with Corporation Counsel about the budget. And what we discussed was that this is the introduction of the budget. It's not the passage of the budget. And so we have ability and time to potentially amend this moving forward. So, you know, I spoke with you offline about some concerns that I have, but I'm comfortable just moving it today. We did receive the documents just a couple hours ago, but we have now, there's a process that the clerk follows, but it's a month-long process at a minimum to move forward with this. So we do have some time. We can introduce it. We have an ability to make amendments and other things before it's passed.
All right, I want the exchange place, James, the exchange place pulled out of it. And also somebody just sent me a text saying there is no variance in for a drive, for that drive-through. You know,
like I said, Rich, we can have a meeting because you receiving text. We need to go to the right authorities to get this paperwork if it exists. People texting you saying this is that, where is the proof? We have to stop doing this as a council. We need to work together and figure this out.
Joyce, before when I read something about the Supreme Court of California, I mean, should have changed all your minds. If the Supreme Court of California says something, of course, I know we're in New Jersey.
But that's something you just put up. We don't even have the documents. That's my whole point. You're saying stuff, we don't have the doc. It's fair to give us the documents too. So we can investigate.
On a site, on a major computer
site. So we can investigate.
All right. All right, it's James. Fair. As far as I'm concerned, you know, I want that part about Exchange Place, the park, whatever they want to do, out of there. And the Polish people want it out of there. And, you know, like somebody said, oh, what are they going to do? Back a bulldozer into the monument? So, oh, we got to move it? No, leave the park alone. Leave the foot of Exchange Place alone. That's the city of Jersey City.
And it's the vote of the people of Jersey City. He has to have a public meeting so the people have a voice too, Rich. You just singling one group, and that's not fair.
Any group. It's a.
You keep saying the Polish people. That's what you keep saying.
They were upset when they heard
down there.
Whoa. Joyce, I'm not talking about only the Polish people. I'm talking about everybody.
You just said. You said that.
They're very excited. Listen, Joyce, when you get 1,000 signatures in a couple of days from the people of Jersey City, not to touch.
We're not touching the statue. We're not touching the statue.
Joyce, first of all, you can't vote on it because you're on the board. So
it's not a statue.
Joyce,
we're not touching the statue.
Joyce, tell the SID to stay the heck out of certain things. You know, stay with their buildings.
Who did you say?
Tell them to stay out of certain things. They don't have any authority over that property down there. That property belongs to the people.
Go to a meeting.
All the cultural affairs and anybody that wants to walk down to the waterfront.
Come to a meeting and tell them.
I am not going to their meeting.
Point of order.
See?
Point of order.
Go ahead, Sean.
Point of order.
Okay, we have a question from Councilperson Saleh.
I mean, it was more of a point of order, just the back and forth. I think, you know, we should either vote on it, debate it, or, you know, table it, like one or the other. So I don't think that that is very productive, the back and forth. So
listen, we're allowed to argue amongst ourselves.
No, I understand. That's it. I'll chain myself to the statue if they touch it, Bojano. That's
I'm not going to the statue. I don't want them touching the property there. I want to have the affairs down there that we've been having for the last 50 years, and the way we've been having them. And I don't want anybody telling us we can't have them, whether it's cultural affairs or the SID.
Okay,
Are we moving forward. Wait, James
is good with it.
James just said a second ago that this is a resolution. We pass it tonight. It's approved.
No, what I said, Councilman, is it's in essence, we're introducing the budget. This is not we're not approving the budget tonight. We're introducing it. So we may have the ability we do have the ability, if we choose, to make amendments. So that is why I'm comfortable with moving it forward tonight, because we have the ability to change it as a council if we choose.
All right, James, I want to speak to you further on this and to a couple of the others on this.
Are you going to move? Are we moving forward with your
motion? Well, just let it stay for tonight.
Yes. I'm sorry.
Yes, Sean.
So there's still a motion on the table.
All right, Sean, I'll drop the motion. I'll work with Solomon and the others. I want that part of all that stuff out of there.
That's what I needed to know. Thank you. All right. So Items 10.1 through 10.11, we had an aye vote from Councilperson Ridley. I'm now going to go to Councilperson Prinzary.
Aye.
Councilperson Baggiano.
I'll abstain, Sean.
You're abstaining on all of them? Or just
No,
item
on the,
10.8?
just on the 10.8.
And you're aye on the rest?
Yes.
Thank you. Councilperson Saleh.
I'm in agreement with Bogiano regarding, the statue and everything happening down there in terms of not touching it, and I don't want to relitigate or to, rehash something that we already went through and the people, spoke regarding that statue in particular. I vote aye on everything, and I think that we as a council should use our power wisely and, help mold and shape the budget. And we should also, be cognizant that we need to support the businesses down there too. Like, they're a SID just like anyone else. So, but with that, I don't want anything to happen to that statue. So aye.
Thank you. Councilperson Solomon.
Just briefly on 10.8, I think there's sort of three things as a council we need to do before we, finalize the budget in a week in a month or two. The first is we need to figure out the issue with Exchange Place, review the documents. We obviously all just got them a few hours ago, so we take the next couple of weeks to review, to discuss. The second is there's the Paulshoek Four Corners Park that needs to be, I think that project needs to be fully funded, and we'd have to have a discussion in combination with the SID and the city to move that forward. The SID has $4.5 million in their capital reserves, and they have done work on the project. It is moving forward, but only a couple of phases, and I think we have to have a plan in place to address it. Last is a small issue, but there's a building that I think is being overtaxed through the SID, 135 Montgomery, and the law department is working with me on figuring that question out right now. But those are the three things we need to resolve, I think, before a final budget is approved. But we're introducing it today, we're moving it forward, and that's fine. So with that, I vote aye on all of the items through 10.11.
Thank you. Councilperson Robinson.
Aye for all.
Thank you. Councilperson Lavaro.
Okay. Let me start at 10.4. It's a resolution recognizing May as Asian and Pacific Islander American Heritage Month. Introduce this resolution. Just want to acknowledge the nearly 25% of Asian Americans in Jersey City for all of their contributions to Jersey City. I'll give a particular shout out as a Filipino American to my kababayan or Filipinos, countrymen in the English language, and although America is my country, but that's a common word or phrase used with Filipinos. My kababayan, my kaibigan, around that, and particularly for the healthcare workers, so many Filipino Americans as nurses and being on the front lines, and so we celebrate you and salute you and your contributions to Jersey City's history and America's history. The second resolution is 10.5. May 18th, being 2 days ago, was Asian American and Pacific Islander Anti-Bullying Day, and that celebrates. It acknowledges the death of Vincent Chin, who was killed in a hate crime and racial crime on May 18th, and I can't help but remember my colleague, Councilman Michael Yun, in both of these resolutions, but also on particularly on this anti-bullying day, because I remember that he invoked the idea that with this pandemic and we see the anti-Asian sentiment and violence that's been committed against Asians and Chinese and Koreans and others throughout this country and this region as well. And that sort of discrimination and stereotyping. Councilman Yoon spoke against that in the month of March, right before this pandemic hit our region and our area. I know he was concerned about that as well. So rest in peace, my Councilman Yoon. Excuse me. Ryan, on 10.7, the New Jersey Tax Court of Appeals. Is anyone here from tax assessor or anyone else? I sent you an email after I received your information that you sent over Tuesday. I sent an email, I believe, today, identifying several properties.
Yes, Councilman, I'm around.
Oh, great. Ed, you got the list there of the properties that I identified?
Right. Yeah, you got.
So just for the record and for the public, so this is a resolution refunding taxes to certain property owners based on the Tax Court of Appeals. Can you speak to this just briefly, Mr. Assessor?
Yeah, I have the list that you are basically asking questions.
Yeah. So there were several properties, and that in one case in particular, and I'm just highlighting that one, but there were other ones of smaller amounts. And let me just share my page on that, just so the public can see that as well. Give me 1 second.
All right.
Sorry. So it is. I'm just going to highlight that item for everyone. I believe it was the property address was 445 Washington Boulevard, and we're essentially refunding $516,000 for their taxes. The original assessed value was, I believe, over 42 million, and then as a result of the appeal, it went down to a little over 11 million. We lost some 30+ million in value in the assessment. And so there's a couple of instances of other properties here of lesser value, but substantial reductions in their assessments, ranging from, some of them from 30% to 50% reductions in their properties, property values as well. So just wanted to ask you to explain that and share that with the public as well as to what happened there before I cast my vote on this.
Yeah, the issue on 445 Washington. Now this is. I'm hearing two voices. One that's delayed, the one that's in real time. I don't know what's wrong with my audio. There is a delayed conversation, and at the same time also I hear the one in real time.
Is it? Can you hear me, Ed?
Yeah, I can hear you. It's just that, one that is delayed and the one is on real-time conversation that we have.
Are you on two devices, or there's two audios coming out of your computer? Is what you're saying?
I don't know which. No, I only clicked basically one audio. Yeah, I can hear you here.
You're okay over here.
We can hear you clearly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can hear you. But as I said, there are two conversations, basically one that's delayed.
So try it. Let's see. We'll let you know.
That's right now. You're talking about the device, that was already. Okay. Well, anyway, the 445 Washington. What happened here? This particular. All right, let me continue the explanation on the unit 1. Now remember this one, this particular property consists of 2.5 acres. It has 4 units in there. In other words, you got the I think that was the DoubleTree Hotel. You got the Monaco South and the Monaco North. What remains is the vacant land, which is part of the condominium complex, which is Unit 1. Now, as far as the site plans, there is a limitations in terms of the number of units that you could build, or the buildable units on that particular unit. During the reval period, what happened was the reval took that as if we could build 581 units on that particular condo unit. But the bottom line, when we did analysis from the planning, what remains is only 126 units. So if 126 units and you assess each unit by 90,000, so basically you're just coming up between 11 to 12 million, not the 46 million that the reval initially had.
I see. So this is vacant land though, correct? Hello? Hello?
Ed?
Yes?
Ed, can you hear us?
Ed, the councilperson Navarro asked if it was vacant land.
Yeah, it's part of the 4-unit condominium you have on the 445, 475 Washington. If you look at this, basically between Gangemi, Washington Boulevard.
And so it's vacant land that's potentially developed, could be developed, and you're saying planning determines it could be 126 units?
Yeah, that's what remains in terms of the buildable unit. As I explained before, this 2.5 acres consists of 4 condominiums.
Right.
Three are already built out. You got the hotel, you got the housing, Monaco North and Monaco South. So if you add all the densities in there, what remains that you could build on the remaining vacant land right now is only 126 units. So from the reval number that they have, like 500 something units, it is reduced now to almost like 126 only. So if you
so they built out,
value these units at 90 per unit, you're only arriving at 11 to 12 million.
Understood.
That's basically what is in the resolution right now.
Okay. So hypothetically, if that vacant land, currently it could only sustain up to 126 units according to the zoning right now.
That's correct. Yes.
And if it were rezoned to allow for greater density and additional units and increasing the value of that property, would then would that automatically trigger a reassessment of the value of the property so that they would be paying more taxes, or would it still stay at?
Now we have to understand that this particular parcel, the 2.5 acres, is set up as a condominium. You have condominium 1 to 4. In other words, there is some kind of an undivided interest into the thing. Unit 2, 3, and 4 were already built out. What remains, as I said, is this one vacant land, but there is an amount of density that you could build within 2.5 acres. So what
I understand
now, based on the planning, is 126. If they're going to go back and rezone it or ask for a variance rather than 126 units, if they are allowed to build, then we could reassess the property.
And you would have the authority to reassess it at that point?
Yes, if there are approvals, yes.
Understood. Okay, I got it. I appreciate your insight on that. And then I'll address the other issues with you offline, the other properties. Okay. And then I'm going to move on to the other items. I just wanted to ask to the BA about Resolution 10.11, which is the acceptance of the Roy grant, the recreational opportunities for individuals with disabilities. I saw your response on that and suggesting that while programming hadn't started, and even though the grant cycle technically is supposed to expire on June 30th, it's your understanding that we're going to have additional time to implement the programming as required by the grant. Is that accurate, or do you want to say something more about that?
Yes, that's accurate. We'll have extra time as needed.
do you have a sense of how much time, or is it, and is that something that's been officially given, or is that more of a?
Well, to put it in perspective, we spent $2018 over the course of 2019, and the same occurred with 2019 dollars, where we still have some residual dollars left at this point. So there's some flexibility there. And also, although nothing is formally written about this or some of our other grants, we expect some additional leeway because of coronavirus constraints.
Right. So knowing that there's coronavirus constraints, and I guess the original proposed program, I'll reiterate the idea that obviously the program that was proposed isn't feasible under today's conditions, even with the time restrictions, or even with the expansion of time, perhaps. Maybe some of it might be able to be realized at a later date. That being said, my request, and I'm not going to turn away money, not in this period, so I'm going to vote for it, but my request is that a new program and proposal and a budget be furnished to the council for our consideration, and that you give us an affirmative time as to when that would be, pending after the approval of this acceptance of the grant award. And to that end, I would suggest, if we're looking for recreational opportunities for individuals, particularly youth with disabilities, and I know there was a vision to do an expanded program through the Department of Recreation, but we have schools that are currently providing programming to students, and that have budget challenges, that even this small amount, which I believe was a little over $19,000, might prove helpful in some respect to addressing some of their programming with students with disabilities. And then you've got plenty of other kind of people out there who are providing programs, such as I forget the name of his organization right now, Kerry Magro's organization, and he's been doing programming throughout the COVID virtual programming through this whole COVID pandemic. You've got Sherry Singh and her program there on Newark Avenue, and then there's another program with Sonia Vegas, and their names are escaping me right now, so my apologies to them about that. So I would suggest that rather than kind of hoping to things to clear up, maybe we can work with some existing programming out there to help expand their capabilities and capacity, if that's within the allowable expenditures of the grant. That being said, from 10.1 through 10.11, I'll vote aye.
Thank you.
Oh, I'm sorry, one last comment. On 10.8, I do have concerns on the Exchange Place Alliance. I spoke at length at the caucus, so I won't go into great detail here, but issues with the capital improvement issues, all the concerns that Councilman Boggiano raised, I share those concerns. I recognize that this is within the city's authority with cultural affairs, but the reality is that there's been organizations, and I can say groups like Serati with Holy High, and the West Indian Caribbean programs, and other groups who have sought to gain approvals, and so there was suggestions that there'd be renovations done, and putting off their applications, or saying that they had to look elsewhere during those periods, that we should not be beholden, and I'll engage more on this going forward. But to what former Councilman Gatson said previously about engaging the community, in this particular instance as well, we need to be engaging the community, the entire city, because this is public lands, and it's there for the public of Jersey City, and everyone should be able to enjoy the waterfront and the walkway, and it shouldn't be a benefit for the few. So we need to make sure that we engage everyone to make sure that they're a part of that, and that any of the properties that there, and suggestions of converting things into driveways or whatever to accommodate the other businesses and the interests over there. We should be weighing first and foremost the needs of our Jersey City residents. So with that, I'm going to vote aye for all.
Thank you. Councilperson Rivera.
First of all, I just want to apologize to Ed Tolosa, man. He was waiting there for a long time. I think that we should be calling these directors into caucus meetings. With respect to and I'm sorry, my granddaughter's crying in the background there. But with respect to the SID, Rich, I think there's something that we should put on the record here. And, you know, we should, moving forward, let the Cultural Affairs Department know that we will continue to do festivals down there. Like you nailed it. I mean, they can't tell us that we can't have any festivals down there. Like the council president said, you know, this is a public area. So I think moving forward, you know, we should tell all these entities that, you know, that's what we want to do moving forward. With respect, and I have to reiterate it all the time, with respect to the Puerto Rican Day Parade Festival, they chose to do the festivals behind Ferris because they wanted it to be quite nostalgic the way it used to be. And, you know, I just want to put that on the record. But yes, I do miss, I did personally, Daniel Rivera personally missed having the festival down at the well, we called it the pier. So, you know, down by the statue. Like Councilman Yusef Celeste said, Councilman Rich Bogiano, I mean, I'll chain myself to that statue, you know, just to reassure that that statue will never be removed and it's going to stay there, you know, as long as it has to, you know, forever in perpetuity. And that's what we talked about. With that said, I have an eye on everything.
Thank you. Council President Waterman.
Sean, I have to abstain from 10.8, but I do want to add to the subject matter here with Exchange Place Alliance is that I encourage all the council to please go to one of the meetings. I know sometimes we get information from sometimes the public and they don't have all the information like we have. So that's why I'm encouraging them to go to all the meetings. And I know also that Elizabeth, the executive of the SID, she welcomed a meeting with the Polish community. Now, we welcome that. She welcomed that. So we're still open to that. We're not trying to hide anything, okay? We're not trying to hide anything. And the statue is remaining there. The statue is not being moved. That's why I don't know what's going on here. I mean, the people down there just want to invest and make the place nicer. And everybody has a right to use it, not just one group of people. Everyone has the right to use the Exchange Place down there. So I have to abstain from that, but I do vote yes for all the rest.
Okay, thank you. Just to recap, items 10.1 through 10.7 are approved 9-0. 10.8 is approved 7-0-2 with council members Baggiano and Waterman abstaining. Items 10.9 through 10.11 are approved 9-0. On to our next set of resolutions. I will be taking a vote on items 10.12 through 10.22. Councilperson Ridley.
Aye.
Councilperson Prince Airy.
Aye.
Councilperson Baggiano. Councilperson Baggiano, you're muted.
No, on 10.18, because I believe we should have our own police academy and we shouldn't be sending them out to these country police academies. And
No
yes,
more-
yes.
I'm sorry, Councilman. 10, no on 10.19, yes on all the rest?
18 was the thing about the police academy.
Police Academy is 18.
18, that's what I said. No on 10.18 and yes on the rest.
Okay, thank you. Councilperson Soleil.
Actually, I agree with Bogiano. We should have our own police academy. I will vote yes for all of them right now. I don't know what the effect of my no vote would be if, you know, I did vote no on the police academy, because we do need people, police officers. But I do echo Bogiano's sentiments.
You're voting aye on all the rest, correct?
Yes.
Councilperson Solomon.
On 1012, thank you to my colleagues, Councilman Robinson, Lavaro, for co-sponsoring this resolution. You know, we heard from a worker at Plan 2 meetings ago, and then at today's meeting. And, you know, my goodness, if like this crisis teaches us anything, it's that we have to treat our essential workers on the front lines with, you know, the bare minimum basic dignity that they deserve. So that includes a living wage, it includes personal protective equipment, it includes, you know, sick days, health care. And, you know, all over Jersey City, people from Jersey City are working in, you know, big residential buildings, you know, in sort of high risk areas, or in lobbies and elevators, you know, in these closed indoor spaces where we know the virus can spread. So I hope this, you know, is a call to action to, you know, the real estate interests that work with Plan. We're not against Plan being a company in Jersey City. We just want them to, you know, share the values of the city, which is treating their workers with the dignity that they deserve. So that's what 1012 calls for, and thankful to the whole council, hopefully, for advancing it forward. On 1020, so I'm going to vote no right now. This is for BidSync. I understand the administration is working to try to get the data we need on women, minority-owned, LGBTQ businesses, so we can really assess the disparity needs in the city. Both we have the formal study as well as moving forward after the study ends. And my understanding from conversations with Director Hebron is that BidSync may have this sort of functionality, but we don't have it set up yet. And while I understand purchasing is working on it to set it up, you know, we did talk about this a year ago when we had BidSync before the council. So because it isn't fully set up and fleshed out, you know, I don't feel comfortable voting yes on it. So I'm going to vote no on 1020 and yes on all the rest.
Thank you. Councilperson Robinson.
Aye for all.
Thank you. Councilperson Lavaro.
Yeah, let me start with resolution 10.12. Just to Ms. Burrows, Bridget Burrows, and to the worker who spoke last meeting as well. We stand in solidarity with you, and in these challenging times, you deserve to be treated like essential workers. You deserve to be treated with dignity and respect, and you deserve to be protected and to be able to have the working conditions as you do your essential work and here in Jersey City. So to Plan companies, I want to make it clear that Jersey City protects its workers here. We are we consider it a core value here to stand up for the workers here in Jersey City. We urge you to provide the additional sick leave for workers who may be in self-isolation or quarantine, and also to provide the PPE, the masks and gloves and everything else that's necessary for them to do their jobs safely, and to service your residents and your buildings. And lastly, that they respect their rights to organize. And you'll find here in Jersey City that that's an important thing to do as well, to organize without the fear of retaliation and to provide them with livable wages and quality health care. So I want to send that message resoundingly to Plan and know that only labor-friendly businesses are welcome here in Jersey City from this councilman. The second thing I wanted to talk about here is, let me just take a quick look. As I've done before on 10.17, with regard to the whole issue with the Department of Recreation, I'm going to be voting no on this. As I said, I don't agree with kind of the direction that this has gone in, but I also don't agree on certainly continuing to spend more money on outside counsel on these matters. On 10.18, I will echo Councilman Boggiano's pleased to have our own police academy here in Jersey City. He's led the charge on that, and frankly, he's been right about that. And everyone else has said the same thing throughout the police law enforcement leadership here in Jersey City. And we need to make that happen at this point. And then while I've been vocal as well about the issues of diversity, and along with Councilperson Robinson and Waterman in our procurement processes, and as we come to the end of that purchasing disparity study and move forward with that, Councilman Solomon, I thank you for bringing this and looking into this more closely as well. This was discussed in previous this particular contract. And it was suggested to us at that time that that they would provide the capabilities to be able to address our diversity needs here in Jersey City, and to be able to utilize for those purposes to increase our goals or accomplish our goals around that. If we don't have assurances that that can be done, I can't continue to support that until we get certain assurances around that. So that being said, I'm going to vote no on 10.20. Vote no on 10.17, and I will vote aye on all the rest.
So you're voting no on 10.17 and 10.20, and aye on all the rest.
Correct.
Thank you. Councilperson Rivera.
I vote aye.
Thank you. And Council President Waterman.
Aye.
Okay, if I can just recap. Items 10.12 through 10.16 are approved 9-0. Item 10.17 is approved 8-1. Councilperson Bavaro voting no. Item 10.18 is approved 8-1. With Councilperson Boggiano voting no. Item 1019 is approved 9-0. Item 10.20 is approved 7-2. With Council members Solomon and Lavaro voting no. Items 10.21 through 10.22 are approved 9-0. And on to the balance and the rest of our resolutions for the meeting. Council members, on items 10.23 through 10.27. Councilperson Ridley.
Aye.
Councilperson Prinzary.
Aye.
Councilperson Boggiano. Muted.
Aye.
Thank you. Councilperson Saleh.
Aye.
Councilperson Solomon.
Aye.
Councilperson Robinson.
Yes, just real quick, 1026, the resolution encouraging Congressman Series Payne, Senators Menendez and Booker to take a look at this 5G, the regulations and the regulations behind the 5G. I think this is a time that we as a council need to stand up. I know we talked about it for some time and some years about having our own attorneys that we can consult. And I know, you know, this is nothing against the law department. Nick and Peter, you Norman, you guys do a great job. I thank you for all your work, but this is time that we really look at to having with things like this, because I would feel more comfortable that it is us, the council, being represented and not just the administration as a whole. So, I mean, I know the budget season is upon us right now, and I truly believe that we should look into that as a council as a whole, to having, at least an attorney that represents us. And Councilman Navarro on 1027, thank you for, joining in with me to talk to the federal government about, extending the census. I got an email from Councilwoman Ridley, talking about the census as a whole, and it basically said that, the state is at 60%, but the city is still at 45%. And we understand if the city is at 45%, there's going to be some neighborhoods that are really low, and I'm afraid to see those numbers that come out being very low in the community that need the most help. And we really need to get out there and push it. So as much time as that we can to really get out to the community and the neighborhood. Everyone who's watching this, who has a platform, social media. I know we're doing, Facebook Lives about the 5Gs, and we're doing Facebook Live about some other things. I ask that you do the same thing when it comes to the census. Get out here and let everyone know that we need your help. We need to make sure that everyone is counted in Jersey City so we can get the funds we need. With that, I vote aye for all.
Thank you. Councilperson Navarro.
Yeah, just very quickly, and I meant to say this on the previous awards, but we have a number of emergency contracts that were awarded to various vendors in response to the COVID-19 virus. I want to thank the directors involved in this, from OEM and Greg Kearse to Director Flanagan of Health and Human Services, and all of their staff as well, and putting this together. Jim Shea at Public Safety, I guess with regard to the testing as well. I believe he coordinated a lot of that. His office was very involved in a lot of that stuff as well. I haven't agreed with everything with regard to this, but these were definitely emergency measures that needed to be taken. And they definitely, these particular contracts in particular were helpful in being able to flatten the curve here in Jersey City. And we still have more work to do there to actually crush the curve at this point. That being said, on 10.25, to the reimbursement for the CARE Act, I want to just reiterate my request on the record again to the business administrator, to the submission deadline, I believe, was May 22nd for the first reimbursement on the CARES Act, and ask that the council be get a copy of that submission so we can see what was reimbursed, and then would like to continue to have conversations about what will be ultimately funded through the CARES Act for the city of Jersey City going forward. And then on 10.26, just to thank Council President Waterman for putting this forward. This is definitely necessary with regard to this whole 5G cell tower issue. It became very heated. And as I said before, the FCC just changed these rules in 2018, making it easier for the telecommunications companies to be able to proliferate their 5G cell towers. Not necessarily a bad thing, but we should be able to have more input in this and local authority, and ensuring where these are placed and ensuring that we're compensated accordingly. That being said, I hope Congressman Sierras and Payne and Senators Menendez and Booker will take up this fight, and hopefully after 2018, I'm sorry, the 2020 elections this year, that we can make some changes at that FCC as well, to find a more friendly representatives there to work with local governments in Jersey City as well, kind of going forward. And then lastly, thank you, Councilman Robinson, for putting this forward, 10.27 on the U.S. Census. Jersey City, we all need to do our part, and I will be the first to say I've been remiss in that. So we're 45%, and that's unacceptable. We need to get that number up. Too much is at stake for us. Urge everybody to get out there and fill out their census forms and get that in there. And thank you, Councilman Robinson, for putting this forward. And I'm thankful for allowing me to to co-sponsor this resolution. I vote aye on all.
Thank you. Councilperson Rivera.
So on 10.26, you know, it's very important for us as the council and the speakers that came today to speak on the matter of the 5G, that, you know, we impose ourselves on our senators, Senator Menendez, Senator Booker, Congressman Alvio Series. You know, we have to make Senator Payne, that, you know, Congressman Payne, that, you know, we're serious about this, and we need more of that. We need that advocacy, you know, to go down into that level, the same way that advocacy was today. To my law department, I'm confident, you know, with the information they gave us. I mean, pretty confident. I thank you, Nick Strasser, for doing an amazing job and bringing clarity. I mean, you know, even though all of us are not in agreement, and sometimes it's just not healthy to agree with everything, you know, people say or what they do, but at least it just it shows that the trajectory is that we're looking for is for the betterment of the city, for the people of the city of Jersey City. I'm not going to take too much time in that, but to the law department, you guys really did a good job on this, and I thank you for that. I vote aye on everything.
Thank you. And Council President Waterman.
First of all, I want to take this opportunity to thank our city clerk and his department for doing all that they do concerning the situation. Even when it comes to our resolution and ordinance, they download it, put it up, trying to change this. I want to thank the law department for all that they do, because whether people know it or not, they're trying to please 9 people. And sometimes it's very challenging to please 9 people trying to do it right. And I know that they do their best to make sure we abide by the law. So I really want to say thank you to both departments. Second, I want to thank Councilman Jermaine Robinson for putting forth the censors. I think that's very important for us to get out here and make sure we get the vote. We are being very creative during this crisis. We have to continue to be creative so we can get people out to they can't come out, but to get people to go online to vote. I think that's so important. I mean, for the censors, that's so important. And I want to thank the council people here, because even though we get heated, but I know deep down they all care about the constituents of the city of Jersey City. And just like Councilman Rivera said, you know, it's not good to agree with everything. It allows the public to see we are just as passionate. We do care about what happens in this city. We may go about it in a different way, but that doesn't mean we don't care about the people here. And so with that, I vote aye on all the rest.
Thank you. And thank you, Council President, for those for my office, and also I'll speak for the law department too. I'm sure they appreciate those kudos as well. So to recap, items 10.23 through 10.27 is approved, 9-0. And with that being said, may I have a motion to adjourn?
Second.
Wait a minute. I didn't even hear who made the motion. Motion to adjourn at 8:59 p.m. Who made the motion?
Councilperson Prinzary.
Prinzary made the motion to adjourn at 8:59 p.m. and seconded by Councilperson Rivera. I'll give it to. On the motion to adjourn at 8:59 p.m. Council, by acclamation, please say aye.
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 Okay, we are out of here at 8:59 p.m. Thank you so much to my staff and everyone behind the scenes. Couldn't do it without you. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen, for being patient with me and my staff and us for getting the speakers on the phone. It's not an easy process, but we try to do our best, and we're managing and we're learning as we go. So I appreciate your patience and the compliments as well that goes along with that. So with that being said, also when you're out and about, make sure you're wearing those gloves and wearing those masks and adhering to those safety protocols, because we're not out of the woods by no means yet. So with that, I bid you a great night. Good night, everyone. Thank you so much. Stay safe.
Good
Stay safe. Good night.
night. Bye.